Yo,
Happy New Year.
2026. We are so back.
We're very back and very live,
It's probably the most live we've been all year.
easily.
Yeah. On the
Yeah.
spectrum of live, like we're on that spectrum.
Yes, we sure are. And we are making our money while we are alive.
Yeah, we are. This year's gonna be another year where we're alive and can try to make our money.
I love it. Who's in the
Guys,
chat with
welcome,
us?
welcome to Midweek Machamps, friends and fans and Ricky. Uh, I'm so grateful to be here for another year. And since last year was when we started Midweek Machamps, this will be our first year where we can just every other week, as you know, as frequent as we can make it happen every other week. We're just going to be consistent, mainstay of the hobby, commentary, collection sharing, discussions around um, Pokemon card collecting, buying, selling, trading, vending, grading, all those things. We're really excited to be here, and shout out to the new year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Exciting.
How
Yeah,
did
man.
uh how did we end last year, Ricky?
Yeah, last year we wrapped up by talking about the biggest changes and learnings from 2025, both
Mhm.
for our personal collections and businesses, but also just like the general hobby. So it's a nice little look back. So if folks didn't watch that one, they can do that after tonight's stream.
Yeah, I went back and actually looked at some of the comments from the live, and that was like 3 weeks ago now,
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, about 3.
And yeah, it was really sweet because I mean I think both of us kind of put our hearts and our business, some of the numbers and everything out there on our sleeve. And it was it was an incredible year, and there was all year long there was so much speculation about what 2026 would bring.
Yeah.
And now we are here,
Yeah.
and we're going to dive into, I think, what's going to be a really pivotal topic for this year,
Agreed.
during this live stream today, which is what the heck is going on, and what will be going on with the graded card Pokemon industry slash market slash buyer seller sentiment, all those things we're going to chat about today when we get to our main topic. So if that's something of interest to you guys, make sure that you stick around. We're always here for at least an hour and a half, usually much longer, because we're just, pokey nerds and can't stop talking, especially me. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that once we get through some of our cool traditional topics that I'm excited to dive in as well. Anything you want to add to that, Ricky?
Yeah, I'll add that at the end we always do Q&A. So if you've got questions, you can drop them in the chat. I try actually not to look at the chat too much so I can just kind of like stay in the conversation, but we'll be able to go back through and pick out some questions at the end, or you can just ask them at the end. But yeah, just reminding folks that we'll do Q&A at the
Yeah,
end.
I know you try to dial in kind of on me during this time because you don't get to see very much of me otherwise.
Yeah,
And the background is just so beautiful, and also freshly shaven face
you are
today.
so
So
beautiful. Yes.
yeah, I so
Yes.
I wanted to make sure everyone knows kind of where your head's at.
That's thank you for I didn't want to have to admit that myself, but I'm glad you did it for me.
Yes, nerds, that's us. Thank you, Manic.
Yes, 100%, without a doubt. Should we start with our traditional topics?
Let's dive in. We got a lot to talk about today.
I
I,
think we
I'm
have a
looking
lot.
I'm looking at our sheet here, and it is more than one page.
I wrote more than usual because I have a lot of thoughts on some of these topics. So
I'm
normally
ready.
I
I'm
don't.
ready for Ricky to wax poetic and to just steal the stage all day.
I might well do that because yeah, I don't normally like to prep too much for this, but this is one where like I didn't want to miss something. Like there's so much going through my head on this topic with graded cards and what's going on in the space as a whole, and I didn't want to get to the end and then immediately be like, oh, you should have talked about that thing. So I wrote a lot of notes, but we'll get started with our traditional topics. We can just start with a PC pickup, or either a recent pickup or an item we're just connected to. You or me first, man.
I think it's kind of funny. You and I have really similar ones. How about you go first?
I see that. Okay. So I think I mentioned this last time, but I didn't have it yet. So
Ooh,
I did pick up this base set Blastoise blister here, and it's quite
Nice.
clean. I was really looking for clean copies. It's actually someone I think local to you, Jake, that sold this to me. But yeah, I now have all three of them back here, and so that is I've collected a lot of cool things. I mean, people have been. I did a show this past weekend, and people started bringing me LC reverse stuff, so people know what's going on. They're tuning into the Machamps. But yeah, man, this I love. I don't know if there's much that looks cooler in terms of displaying it in the Pokemon hobby than the like art set of the base set blisters.
Yeah, that classic Ken Sugimori artwork that never came to English cards, and so like you got to have either blisters or a box, in my opinion. And blisters is definitely the discount way to do it. I'm in the same boat. I've got mine. I got mine right here behind me, and so it's I'm glad you were doing that together.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and you keep posting really, really cool stuff on Instagram, which I really dislike because every time I see something that you post or show on this stream, I'm like, yeah, I need that. So I'm really kind of scared to see what you're about to show because I know that it's like you said, it's kind of in the same vein.
Yeah, same vein. So this was at the table that was right next to me at LA Collecticon. This is Platinum Supreme
Nice.
Victor's Garchomp Pack Art Blister Pack.
Wow.
And yeah, really like simple artwork here on this blister. You've got like the Charizard, the classic Fire Red Leaf Green artwork in the top there, and then just the set name. And it's kind of like small compared to some of the other vintage blister packs.
Huh.
Like here's the one from base set. Look how small.
Wow. Huh.
Supreme Victors is. And I think that they probably did this with a lot of those Gen 4 packs.
Huh.
Because I think I did see at the same guy's table, he had some other sets there, but I was like, you know what? Like, I need this because, well, for a lot of reasons. Okay, so I have the Supreme Victors Garchomp Hollow PSA 10, my Pop 1 Garchomp. So that's from the same set, Supreme Victors.
Yeah.
So that's a Pop 1 Hollow. And so I got to have that. And then I also have the sealed Level X Garchomp Level X tin back here in the corner.
Nice.
And so I'm just kind of like, you know, when the deal is right and the timing is right, accruing some unique Garchomp items. I've had a lot of people reach out with really low pop stuff before, and I'm not trying to like get everything Garchomp, but like definitely a few solid items from those Gen 4 days I want to get. And yeah, I was really, really excited to add that blister pack to the PC. It's going to display really well. I'm not really looking for an art set, you know, just kind of like a little bit of a Garchomp shrine going on back here in the corner.
Very cool. Is Garchomp truly, is that your favorite Pokemon? I don't know if I feel like that's come up, but I can't remember what the answer was.
You know, it's kind of like in the group. Garchomp, Dragonite, Machamp, those are probably like the three, and kind of what I'm pursuing just changes sometimes. Like last year, I went through like a big Dragonite and Machamp kick where I was getting like, you know, Grail cards for each. And I did pick up another that I'll probably show off next time at LA Collecticon, another Machamp Grail card. So
nice.
Yeah, those three are probably my main ones. I think that they are like, they kind of match my identity the most in my if you were to ask me.
Yeah, at this point, I get that. We had some questions in the chat about some of this stuff. So 2 questions about my Lugia 1 through 10. Yes, Japanese Neo Lugia, PSA 1 through 10. Every single one has a swirl, which I've been thinking about swirls a lot lately. I'm hearing a lot of chatter about private sales of swirled up vintage cards that are going for, and sometimes public sales, but certainly private sales going way above previous public high comps. So
I absolutely resound with that. You know, we do a lot of claim sales on the stream and things with a swirl. I have to be more firm on my price, and people pay it because there's for sure premium. There's not like a specific finite number, but there is a premium for swirls.
I've been hearing like 3x public comps type type
Woo!
offers on some things.
I did see that on Z&G where like that Lugia with the swirl went for
Almost
like
double.
double.
Almost double. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. But I
Yeah,
mean,
and
again,
that
go ahead.
2300 they were comparing to is about what I paid for the one that's in there, and it sold for, yeah, there was a swirl copy, very similar swirl placement and quality to mine, that sold for 4150. So yeah,
Woo.
close to like 70 something 80% premium. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's making me really extremely regret selling my Gold Star Mewtwo in March of last year. 10 cert, PSA 10, Gold Star Mewtwo, swirl right above the tail. Like there's just like it doesn't get better for a card like that.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, comps for it are well above $40,000 now.
Crazy.
I'm
I'm
so-
hearing stuff like that. Yeah. Rare vintage with swirls, man. I mean, I get it. Like the pomp is already low. And then how many of those have a swirl?
I mean, those have a swirl. Yeah. And like there's something to be said about just like the swirl and its relationship to the video game. Like it's a swirl is kind of like a cinematic piece to a card.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
and
get it.
all of and Pokemon, like we loved the moves that they would use in the game, you know, and so like an Articuno card with a swirl and like the move is like, you know, ice beam or
Yeah.
whatever it is on the card. Like there's like it tells more of a story. And so
I
I'm not surprised that it has a premium.
totally agree. And there's just a visual appeal. It's fun to look at, no doubt. So I get it. Obviously, I've collected, yeah,
Yeah, we all when we get a new card, we all look at it and we do this. Ooh.
100%,
We all,
dude. 100%. If there's a
we all
Cosmo,
put the
if it's
hollow and
Cosmo,
go, oh. And if it has a
100
swirl, then it's like, oh.
100% guilty, no doubt. Uh, favorite or notable deal since the last stream?
I couldn't think of something too crazy here. I've really been lying low since we streamed last. I had a couple of shows to finish out the year, but like we from like a content creation and like, you know, all of that kind of stuff, buying, selling, we really pulled it back at the end of the month to rest. Because I was so tired. I think we traveled well over 30 times last year. And so but I do remember a deal that walked up to the table in LA Collecticon, and it was very true to Jar Chomp. The guy was cashing out of his Evolving Skies ETB set and booster box, and yeah, we paid strong on the set, pretty much a full cash deal, a little bit of trade he wanted. But yeah, really cool deal, solid, and you know, just trying to add to my stash of Evolving Skies.
Cool. Nice, dude. Mine has a bit more of a story. So I've done 2 shows since the last stream, I want to say. I did one, I think, like a couple days after the last stream. So
Mhm.
both have been really successful, and we'll talk, I think, a little bit more about that. This past weekend was particularly interesting because, as a side note, there was, well, we'll get to this in a second, actually. That's going to be my kind of secondary thing. The deal itself was this woman that walked up to the table and she was like, I love your channel. It was like really, really sweet, wholesome interaction. She's like, I love your channel. And, you know, been collecting for a really long time. And it's so cool to like get to meet like other local collectors. And I've been collecting for years, like on and on. Anyway, it's a pre-COVID, like true collector, just collector. And so she's like, you know, I'm hoping to sell some stuff. I've got this binder of kind of my doubles and things like that. And I'm like, I just bought a collection. The video I put out recently, I'd spent 15 grand, and I'm going to put more into the business this year and the hobby this year. But I was kind of like, I'm not going to do a ton of buying at this show and see what happens. But she shows me this binder, and immediately first page, it's like all of these like XY era, like it's like the Reshiram, like the shiny ones. I think they're called Legendary Treasure or something. And I forget what I forget the name of them, but they're these just cards you don't see very often. And I
Yeah.
flipped the page, and in the middle of it's like Mew EX, Japanese Mew EX silver border. It's the Gold Star Mew Japanese in the middle. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh no, it's a bunch of e-readers. And as I'm taking some of the e-reader English stuff out, it's like near mint. Most of it's near mint, really taken care
Wow.
of. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are you selling all this stuff? And she's like, well, you know, I'm a Mew collector and I have doubles. I've had it for a long time. And She's like, frankly, I'm having, some like financial struggles right now. And so I just want to sell. And um, so it was only a 2K it was about 2K of stuff. I think I gave her about 1,700 or something like that. So uh, it's not the craziest deal I did in the last few weeks, but I just really love these examples. For one, I love the vintage stuff. Obviously, it's the most fun to see these like binder copy, or really taking care of, like, again, e-readers. Like, it was just such a mix. The Ditto Charmander reverse stamped. I think it's like a Delta Species era card. So,
Yep.
bunch of cool stuff like that. The Magby from one of those e-reader Expedition or Aquapolis.
Magby. Oh yeah. Is it a rare? It's probably Expedition.
It's hollow, yeah. And anyway, it was just so much cool stuff. And so for one thing, I always love when I can kind of like help somebody out, when the money's like going to help someone's life in some small way.
Totally, because we've all been there. We've all cashed out of something that was personal because we needed the money in a different place. We've all done that.
Totally. And I was obviously like kind of honored or touched. Like, she came straight to me. Like, this was a big, it's in a mall. It's like in the inside of a shopping mall. So there's 120 tables or something like that throughout the mall. So she kind of came specifically to like start the selling her binder process with me, because she felt, like there was she could trust me basically. And so those kinds of interactions, like, I found, you and I were talking about this, I found that show, and the most recent one for sure, but that show was my first one in a little bit, super grounding. It like reminded me what I liked about vending and going to shows. And that interaction was just one of the ones that kind of stood out for me, even though it wasn't that crazy, but like Japanese Gold Star Mew, and like, it was cool stuff. She had Scramble, the Rumble cards, like the really derpy Zapdos.
Yep.
Is hilarious derpy Zapdos. I guess there's Japanese versions of them called Scramble. I didn't even know that there was.
I never heard of that.
Exactly, never heard of it. You look up Zapdos Scramble. Like, I'll just pull it up. It's hilarious, dude. It's so good. And when everyone sees this card, if you haven't seen this card before, I am sorry, because you're going to want this card.
So that's a different artwork than the Rumble?
I think it's the same. I just didn't know that it existed in Japanese and under a different name. Name.
Okay. So maybe that's kind of like,
it's the same.
Translates or something.
Yeah, but I just didn't know. Like, Scramble was what they called it. But yeah, I had no idea that it even existed. So she had this and Lucario. Anyway, it's just like, it was really, really awesome stuff. So that was one thing. And then the big notable like theme was just how dead the hobby is. We sold half of our inventory on a single day Saturday show right before the holidays. And then I came back this past weekend, and on Saturday this weekend, there were 4 shows in my local area, 3 competing in the Bay Area and 1 in Sacramento, which is sort of, you're from that area. I think originally it's close enough that if there's a Bay Area show, the Sac people will come to the Bay for shows.
Well, especially because, like the bigger shows are going to be in the Bay Area. So like it'll pull a lot of the Sacramento collectors down there.
Yeah, but they have shows out there. And so when there's a Sac show, most of them are not going to come down to the Bay Area unless there's the specific show they really like. So we were all thinking, we being the vendors, we were all thinking like, it's going to divide like crazy. Like, we'll probably do East Bay on Sunday because it's the only 2-day show of the weekend. All the other shows are 1 day, and you do those on Saturday, and it's going to divide all the audience, and it's going to be raining. Who knows if that means people are going to stay in, or if that means they're going to need a reason to get out and go to a show. Every single show was packed. Like, our show was packed. We had a line. I know you're used to lines at this point. I've never had a line at my table. I've had a busy table, plenty of shows, but that's not unique to me. Like, at East Bay Card Show, historically, on a Saturday midday, almost every table is going to be like kind of too busy to even look at. But I fully had people that were like having to wait to look at things on my table or whatever. And so it was like that busy. And then when afterwards, I have a kind of group chat with some local vendors that I'm close with. And I was like, how'd you guys do? Because East Bay was awesome. And everyone I talked to at East Bay said no matter where they were in the venue, they said it was great. And all the other vendors were like, yeah, the SF Card Show was really good. HypeCon was really good. Like, there was definitely dilution, but there was no issues. So anyway, it was wild. So that was my notable theme since the last stream.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Because the last show I went to was Collecticon Los Angeles, and I would say the exact opposite. But I really think it really comes down to just the timing of the year. That show was like legitimately like 4 days before Christmas Day or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think just a lot of people were already with their families for the holidays and not planning to go to a show, or had already spent, their holiday budget on gifts and things like that. And so it just goes to show like how um, anecdotal, any
Yeah.
one given show or whatever could be,
Yeah.
because yeah, like you said, there were so many things that could have made the show that you went to very slow, but it was
100%.
extremely busy. I also don't want you to discount just how utterly famous you are now.
No, 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 no. The show was good. I mean, like the show itself was good. It has nothing to do with me. But I did have a lot of really great interactions. And so Monkey Dude here, who we know, we've talked to him before in the chat here, is master setting all of English, and they're like 98% of the way through. So Monkey Dude, you're saying send me a list of those WotC e-readers. My friend, you were the buyer. This is the piece I forgot. This is why I wrote things. I was like, I'm going to forget details. Monkey Dude was standing right next to this girl as I'm looking through her binder, and I'm pulling out the Ditto Reverse and the Magby and like these obscure rare vintage cards. And I'm like, I know these are the sets that you don't have yet. Like these are the hard ones to complete. And so Monkey Dude, you did buy the ones that you didn't have from that set alongside the Rayquaza that that I held aside for you. So yeah, and I know there were some folks that like I think this guy here, I'm pretty sure vended HypeCon might have been, if I'm connecting the dots here, if this is who I'm thinking it is, first time vending, and said that they crushed it there too. So thanks, Jake, but nothing to do with me being famous.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Yeah, I'm excited for that because it makes me feel like 2026 is gonna get off to a really good start. And it is kind of a classic ebb that happens in December. And so I'm curious to see what the rest of the winter holds for, just how busy shows are going to be, or
Yeah,
streams, or whatever it may be.
100%.
Because I'm excited. And again, tangent here, but Franny and I have already booked out almost the entire year.
Yeah.
Like the only way that we would add more shows to the calendar than we already have is if we just decided to like really squeeze additional travel in. Like there's
Yeah.
a number of stretches where we're going to be traveling 8 consecutive weekends.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So it's going to be serious, and
Wow.
we're gonna try to go to as many new places as we can, and we're also bringing on new employee number, well, technically employee number 4 of the business in March.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going all in. It's all in 2026, guys.
I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second in our Hitmon topics. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are. Some comments here. I'm trying to star the questions. That jacket is fire. Can we get a fit check? This was a white elephant custom. Yeah, it's insane, and it has like a bit of an inside joke on it. But yeah, it rips. It
Yeah,
absolutely
fabulous.
Yeah, I know. Swag steez. Wind Waker had some. Plenty more people coming into the hobby than leaving. Card prices coming down. People going to One Piece. Like it's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Shout out Wind Waker. What a fabulous take. And hopefully 2026 brings a lot of grace and patience from Wind Waker in my direction.
Ooh, that's wishful thinking, probably.
Yeah.
Aloha Daily, I'm assuming with the Aloha may be a Hawaiian, but still coming to Hawaii. So we didn't address that we are the early week Machamps this week. We probably should have led with that. There's so much to talk about. It's so easy. It's going to be so easy to forget. Yes. Early week Machamps. Why are we early week Machamps?
We are early week Machamps because Franny and I are traveling on Wednesday, and we will be at this time on Wednesday, we will be on Oahu, and hopefully eating some delicious Hawaiian food, meeting friends, and prepping for Hawaii PopCon that's happening this coming weekend. I've never been to Hawaii. I have traveled to, other, I've been to the Caribbean and other islands and things like that, but never got the chance to go to Hawaii. Nice. Really excited and grateful by all of the outpour of, messages and things like that I've gotten from people. So yeah. And it's going to be kind of a party because there's a lot of people, like big creators, that are going to be there. I know that, I'll be there. I know Bulbasaur will be there. Pack Battle will be there.
Awesome.
I know that Pat Flynn, Deep Pocket Monster is going to be there. I know Mitsuhiro Arita is going to be there. So should be cool.
Big FOMO for me. Well, dude, the outpouring of love, you deserve it, bro. You
Well,
deserve it.
no,
You guys deserve
I'm Evil Coop. Maybe this is the year that I change my name into, what's a good like moderate Coop?
it. Hmm.
You know,
No,
like
on the fence Coop, fence
yeah,
sitting Coop.
level-headed, lukewarm Coop.
Oh, huh.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Okay. Yeah.
New year,
Knowing
new.
you, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, probably not.
I think it's just gonna get. I think you and I both are going to get even more convicted about how we feel about what's going on and what we're doing in the hobby.
I did get someone did give me a new name on my stream. Yeah, moderately played Coop. That's a good one. I got Jar Comps on my stream.
Wow. That's pretty funny. That's pretty good.
Jar Comp collectibles. Oh man, totally cooked.
I
Business
like it.
Coop was in full effect, and they're like, "Who is this guy?" Jar Comps.
Hilarious. Wow. Wow. Okay, bro. Should we go hit on topics?
Let's do it.
Our first one, I don't think we have a ton to say about this. You were around for the 25th anniversary. You were in the hobby at 25th anniversary. I hadn't come back yet, but confirmed. So I don't think this is terribly surprising given historical partnership here with McDonald's, but 30th anniversary, McDonald's coming to the US. I think the obvious thing to consider here is the difference in the market and the hobby and the general like public attention. Like what happened with the Burger Chew is very, very obviously on everyone's minds with this one. But you, as somebody who was here, like, what are your thoughts?
So the last time for celebrations, the McDonald's set was actually really cool. You got like a 4-card pack, and every card was one of the starters, and from Gen 1 through 8. And then the fourth card was a hollow version of that starter, plus Pikachu. And so the hollow Pikachu was definitely the biggest pull that you could get. But yeah, a really cool set that also had like the little Pikachu stamp. And so it kind of tied in with the celebration set in that way. And yes, and so in my celebrations master set binder, which is actually I used the Dragapult binder that came in that Dragapult Celebrations collection box.
Okay.
And it has just enough room for a Celebrations master set and your McDonald's master set.
Nice.
And it's like a little 4-card page binder. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do here, because this was basically the 25th anniversary was the only McDonald's set that, since maybe vintage, that I've actually really cared about. So I'm excited to see what they do here. And I'm also excited for the inevitable, Instagram posts of some, neckbeard walking at the back of a McDonald's with 10 pallets of Happy Meals. And it's going to be fun regardless. Fun to collect and fun to laugh at.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't help. I mean, obviously, this is not going to be a hot take, but like, I can't help but cringe at it because those people are what like the layman see of the hobby, like that's the stuff that like you and I will get questions about from our family when it's like, oh, I saw somebody like, whatever killed someone at, like at McDonald's. Something's gonna happen. It's always those stories that go viral beyond our like the actual hobby, the actual community. So, someone's saying that they were still scalped to death in 25th. Was that the case in 25th?
I don't know. I mean, I know that some people like were able to get boxes of them, kind of backdoor, but I've never gone to McDonald's and tried to get something in an actual Happy Meal before. So I just collected them on the secondary market. The individual cards were like, the hollows, most of them were like less than $3 or something. So I don't know. I didn't experience much in the way of scalping. Maybe there were, like the sealed packs were, but
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, not too much to say on this other than it's going to be, like you said, I think the takeaway is we're going to laugh either way. We're going to have fun either way. Okay, so big one here. I know there's other creators have already done a good job talking a little bit about this, but we got to have our own take on this for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the chat will enjoy. I'm talking about it live. I'm not sure if anyone's really done a big discussion on it live yet. So, MPG there was basically a rumor that the Pokemon Company might have rented a huge 1.27 million square foot manufacturing campus in North Carolina here stateside. And it's confirmed that that is the case. And so for folks that don't know, we weren't 100% clear on this until we did some research on this. The Pokemon Company bought Millennium Print Group in like 2022. Millennium Print Group does print things for not just Pokemon TCG. I think Dan Ketchum Collectibles, who I saw in the chat, mentioned in one of his videos that MetaZoo had talked to MPG about printing in one of their facilities. I don't think it ultimately happened, but this is really interesting. And the thing that you and I latched to was this sentence. So what are your what I don't know, like, yeah, what's your take on this huge investment from the Pokemon Company with impact and them getting paid back on this, probably whatever, hundreds of millions of dollars investment?
Yeah.
Not going to make a penny back on that until late 2028.
Yeah. So I think so many people have talked about what is the potential impact on reprints and set availability once this facility is like fully up and running.
Yeah.
And that's just such an unknowable. I don't know anyone who has like legitimate understanding around the production capability of a single Pokemon card manufacturing plant in a calendar year. That just sounds like information that there's no way the public is going to get access to.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting to me is the investment side, which is kind of what you alluded to. The Pokemon Company International acquired and now owns this Millennium Print Group, and that's an investment that they made a couple of years back, and this is a doubling down of that to add to the facilities, put, like you said, what's inevitably going to be hundreds of millions of dollars into outfitting a huge factory with equipment and logistics and personnel. And the only reason that they would do that is not to catch up with, the sentiment that they hear on the internet about people, being concerned about the availability of cards. They're doing it because of their ability to forecast the future and forecast what they think they can make as profit in the years, 5, 10, 20 years after the doors are opened on this place.
Yep.
And so they are forecasting that the business of printing new sets, new cards is going to stay strong and be stronger than ever for, years and years to come. That's their business forecast.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, just feels really good because it's just another tailwind behind all the people that want to be involved in the Pokemon hobby, whether personally or professionally.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically like the head honcho of your company, buying back all of their stock shares because they just think that they're so valuable and will be more valuable in the future. It's, I don't know, feels good. Feels like it's like job security.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Agreed. I think that's kind of the big takeaway is this is, folks. Yeah, the hobby's dead, and there was a 20% crash, and it's all over now, and it slowed down for 3 months, and everyone's collector app or shiny app didn't go up and to the right by 50% in the last few months. And I know that that's devastating. I know that the scalpers who bought Phantasmal Flames UPCs are now flipping them at a loss, and that's really, really horrible, and I'm so sad.
I know, I've been shedding tears.
Yeah, I'm really just it's actually, I think about it all the time. I'm getting emotional now thinking about them and considering them and their feelings. But but the highest grossing media franchise in human history has decided that it would make financial sense to invest however many hundreds of millions of dollars over the next few years in this, in anticipation of demand making sense in late 2028. And yeah, like you said, it's not a short-term thing. It's not like they're just going to make all their money back in 2029 and shut the doors. Like
No,
they need a 10 or 20 year payback on this thing.
no, and yeah, like that, like you said, like the investment up front is one thing, but like operating that thing is going to be just it's going to continue to be very expensive. Like to justify, they're going to have to be so confident that they're going to be printing at record capacity
Yep.
for years and years.
Yeah. I'll give you, as I was thinking about this, I'll give you my sort of like skeptical, like if you're wearing your very cynical hat,
Yeah,
you might say, well, MPG doesn't just print Pokemon cards, so this could just be that they're bullish on TCG in general, that like
sure.
this facility might not, it doesn't matter for them in opening this facility whether they're printing Pokemon cards in that facility or they're printing completely something else, like print Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. They don't care because they're making money either way, and it could be a hedge. Like you could even view it that way. That's not how I view it. I think it's more, we can take it closer to face value, but I just want to point that out in case anyone was like thinking that I think you could defend that argument.
Yeah, but I mean, let's say that they're again bullish on the TCG market in general. Like, who's the leader of the pack? Like, it's Pokemon. Who's going to be the trendsetter?
Oh yeah,
It's
no
going to
doubt.
be them. So
Yep, no doubt, no doubt about it. The One Piece is doing its own thing, huh? It's doing its thing.
yeah, they are doing their own thing. I do want to maybe just say a couple of words about what this could mean for reprints.
Yeah,
Because I know some people were like, "Oh my gosh, like this is going to mean that certain sets are going to get reprinted, and therefore they're not going to be as as valuable in the near term or whatever it may be." Um, Again, we just don't know enough yet, and we also, if full scale operations commence in late 2028, that's if they're on schedule, which probably not. And late 2028 means that all of the sets that have been printed as of today are already going to be out of rotation by then.
yeah,
And so, will it potentially change a trend that boxes are going to be extremely desirable and priced well above MSRP at release for future sets? Yeah, it could mean that. But even if that's true, and maybe it's not, but even if it is true, and we go back to that kind of standard,
yeah,
that doesn't spell doom for anyone.
no,
It doesn't spell doom for anyone. It's still going to be true that boxes are deflationary,
yeah,
and at least box quantity is deflationary,
yep,
and eventually it will be worth more than it was at release, and that still is true. And packs are always going to get ripped, and there's just a finite number of them. That's
yep,
just, it can't change.
yeah, yep. Agreed. Agreed. So should we move on to our last Hitmon topic?
Let's do it.
We have to talk about this.
Oh wow, you found his most recent and most handsome photo.
I sure did. Actually what I did is I was really wanting not to pick a like publisher that someone in the chat would take issue with. Like there's like every media company's politicized now. So I don't keep up with all that. So I don't know if I'm picking a
Oh,
left
great
leaning
point.
or a right.
Who is this? Just
Comicsbeat.com. I think it's about
yeah.
like,
If you haven't heard of it, that means you can't have a really strong opinion about it, right?
also I think it's about comics. So I was like, okay, well, I think that's safe. I can do Comics Beat. Like no one's gonna be mad that I chose Gawker or New York Post or whatever. Like I don't keep up with who's gonna be mad at who for anyway. That's why I chose this one. We have to talk about this, even though it's sort of annoying that we have to talk about this in some ways. And giving Logan Paul attention is not everyone's going to love that we are doing that too, but I think there's a lot of implications here. So Logan Paul, of course, famously bought this 3 or $2 million Illustrator Pikachu. I think it's one of one. And he is going to be auctioning it on January 12th, a week from today, through Golden. And so there's obviously, I think it's obvious. Well, maybe it's not that obvious. This will impact the hobby no matter what happens. But what are your thoughts on, like, is it going to sell for more or less than $5 million?
I'm just fascinated by this move in general. Like Franny and I tried to watch this new season of the Golden Netflix show.
Oh yeah,
And first of all, I it is tough to watch. It's very like reality TV coded.
of course.
With like every like piece of B-roll and like cut scene is, made with some like AI generated music about, getting being on top, being the best of all time, or just some garbage like that. So
Yeah.
like it's a tough watch. Um, but in like the first or second episode, there's kind of this interaction between Ken Golden and Logan Paul. He calls him and says, "Hey, let's get together." And I'm sure through creating that, they kind of rekindled their connection and you know uh, convinced Logan to potentially auction this off. Because at these price points, that's kind of what auction houses are doing. Like they need to find collectors and like convince them to consign their items just because of how much money they think they can bring in.
Yeah.
A company like Golden or other auction houses, they charge what's called a buyer's premium. And maybe some folks aren't familiar with that, but basically, whatever the card sells for at auction, the hammer price is one thing. So let's say this card sells for $1 million hammer price. That's where the bids end. Well, the buyer's premium is usually going to be up to like 20% on top of that, which means the actual end purchase price for the buyer is 1.2 million.
Wow.
Um, with that entire buyer's premium all going to Golden, right? So they're consigning that, adding the buyer's premium. So hammer price goes all to the seller, which is it's an interesting selling model. And a lot of people are not as familiar with that because
Yeah.
that's not how eBay works, for
Mm,
example.
mm.
Anyways, it's an interesting development. I I was listening to again Dan Catchmall Collectible. He was chatting. I don't know if he was speaking directly about this, but just the idea of this illustrator going up for sale. That like if you looked at the front and back of it, like it could very
Yeah.
easily be a PSA 8 or 9 or whatever modern, in modern judging criteria. So like,
Yeah.
is that going to impact the price? What does this mean for third party understanding of grading? Is it worth it? Is it legitimate? All of that is going to come into play, and we're going to talk about it later on today.
Yeah.
But I think the question you and I wanted to ask was, what does this do for the Pokemon market, and what's this card going to sell for?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe start with the latter one because that's kind of a shorter, more fun, speculative question.
Yeah. So in my head, originally, my answer was that I picture it going for less. That like the environment when it sold for 5 million was unusual, and Logan Paul is an unusual buyer,
Yeah,
and that he can't be a buyer for this, obviously. So I was picturing it going for like 3 million, but the more I think about this, and like as I was prepping for this, I feel like it's gonna go for more, and that it could be like here's the total tinfoil hat. It's not my call, but like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory state like a point of view here would be that there's like some sort of fix, right? Like I mean, you look at like Jake Paul's fights and how hard it is to assess how honest the entire fight was as a whole in terms of
sure.
like it was Anthony Joshua holding back on him for those first few rounds. Were there some sort of deal there that they'd hold back, or whatever? Speculate. I think there was something about the Mike Tyson fight, like they couldn't knock each other out or something like there. There's things like that. So these guys are kind of known for anyway. All that to say, with the way that things are in the world, especially in the U.S. right now, kind of feel like they could fix and like prepare for somebody to buy it for more, and that the idea there would be that if it sells for more, it'd be a bullish signal, and it would potentially pump heavy Pokemon bags for people who have all heavy Pokemon bags.
Hmm.
And if it sold for less, that would be kind of a negative signal. So I I have a hard time making a call on this because when we talked about this like a week or two ago, I was like, dude, $2-3 million. But actually, as I was thinking over the past week, I think I flipped. I think it's gonna be like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with your conclusion, which is that I originally thought it was going to go for less, but And the reason I thought that is because if I remember right, Logan bought this not as part of an auction. I'm pretty sure he just bought it like at a price agreed upon with the owner,
Hmm,
if I remember right.
I don't
And
remember.
which kind of leads me to believe that like there was no way to really value this, and so he just made an offer and they came to an agreement or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how the market values it. And so if it goes to auction, are the actual savvy bidders going to be comparing it to other trophy cards and, the the price of other copies of the illustrator that are graded in lower condition and some sort of fair multiple on the fact that it's a PSA 10. Is this a pop one card?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, with that in mind, I think that it may actually go for much, much more than five.
Yeah.
Because if I think about the players that are involved in this industry now, like this is now going to attract the attention of the Kevin O'Leary's of the world,
Yep.
and the idea that you could buy this, vault it, um, you could tokenize somehow. I know Logan tried to do that or did do that to some degree for this card, which is another question altogether. Like, does he actually own all of this
He
card?
doesn't. I don't think he does.
Yeah, so there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
But on top of that, if it's a pop one and like there's enough press to be shared that this is the Pokemon card, this is the most exclusive one ever made. Yeah, it could bring in some buyers who kind of like how Jake did a number of, sorry, kind of like how Logan did a couple of years ago, bought it um, just because he could.
Yeah. Yep.
And there are people in the world that do have 15, 20, $50 million to throw at something. And like you've said in other podcasts, it's just kind of water off a duck's back, right? Like
Yep.
they make that in surplus on a weekly basis or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. They make it in passive income. Yeah. If you have whatever it is, right? It's uh every $1 million, if you withdraw even 5%, if the market makes 10%, is
Yeah.
what, $100,000, right? So you extrapolate that to a billionaire, and yeah, they're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, billionaire just makes $100 million a year passively in the market.
Yeah. Well, and in that TV show, I think in the first or second episode, because that's as far as I got, there's like a little graphic that Ken does a voiceover while they're showing on the screen that talks about like the map of people around the world that were bidding on golden auctions.
Mhm.
And it showed that there were active bidders all over the world, obviously
Mhm.
US, but like Europe, Middle East, Eastern Asia. And what's interesting about that is there I know for a fact that there's a strong Pokemon card collecting community um, in basically every large industrialized part of the world.
Yeah.
And some of those parts of the industrialized world, uh, don't play by standard capitalistic rules. And there are people there that just have tons and tons and tons of money and don't have anything else to spend it on. Like and when it's something like this, like that there's only one of,
Yeah.
I could see a pretty significant bidding war getting this up to, well into the eight figures.
Yeah. Yeah. That's gonna be interesting, man. We shall see. But I'm with you. That's where I land. That's where I land on it too. So
Yeah, and downstream results is what, regardless of what it sells for, it's just tons of eyeballs
yeah.
for the Pokemon card collecting
Yeah.
community. So we know what that means.
Yeah. Is the upside impact higher than the downside impact? Like, if it sells for less than 5, is the impact relatively small to everyone that's already in it? And if it sells for way more, is that, like, gonna bring 10 million new people into the hobby? Like, I feel like it might be
All For this kind of
asymmetric.
thing, all press is good press.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, fair enough.
as scummy as it sounds, like even the crap about like people getting in fights at Walmart, like that brings eyeballs,
Sure.
and some percentage of those eyeballs are people that are going to be like, "Oh, Pokemon cards still a thing. That sounds
Totally.
cool to collect." And then they fall into the vortex that is Pokemon cards.
I hear you. Yes, sir. Okay, let's move on for time. Oh, my dog is, sorry, trying to get into the room and the door kind of shut because the heat went on. She's got it. Our last Hitmon topic. No, is it even our last? No, yes, that is our last Hitmon topic. And now we're going in a couple other segments in the tall grass before our main topic. So we wanted to share our biggest Clefumble of the year.
Yes.
And I'll kill our screen share here. What was your biggest Clefumble of the year?
Clefumble. So again, guys, our definition of Clefumble is really just like a play that you made that turned out to be way worse than you expected. Sorry, excuse me. We're about to sneeze.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys.
It's live, folks. We are live.
Yeah.
This is not easy.
We're out here living, pushing through the sneezes.
100%. Can I tell you, I'm starving right now. Our earlier time, I didn't eat when I would normally eat.
Haven't eaten.
And I was in the office.
Haven't eaten, but fasting will bring you clarity of mind, I hear.
Okay, I love that framing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I just the chat has to know we're humans and it's live.
And good for you for fasting, Ricky. that's on the spectrum of health.
On the spectrum of health, which we all are on.
Yeah, we're all walking that spectrum.
We really are.
So, the Clefumble of the year, I wanted to approach this question not from what play did Jarchomp make or not make that lost him the most money, but more of a general kind of approach that I had towards the hobby and the hobby business that probably resulted in quote unquote making less money or making less gains than I could have.
Okay.
And that is two things. Just a general defensive approach that I had towards my business in 2025. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that I quit my corporate job in the middle or in the end of 2024. And at that time, it's just Franny and I, we didn't have large expenses. We don't have any kids and we didn't carry a lot of debt or anything like that. We weren't living a very risky, expensive lifestyle, but we also weren't and aren't, affluent people. And so I didn't know what to expect from going full time in the hobby. We had hopes and dreams about what the content would do and what buying and selling and trading cards would do. And we would go to card shows. But at the beginning of 2025, we had still never flown to a show out of state. We had no extra employee. We had never, we hadn't even been full-time, or we hadn't even been making YouTube videos for more than 4 or 5 months. So we didn't really know what the revenue opportunity was from there. There were too many unknowns.
Yeah.
And so my default stance towards the business was very defensive, which meant that I was taking a lot of money and value off the table, and not just churning and burning as much as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what the future would hold. And I wanted to be careful, and I wanted to kind of future-proof the business in a lot of ways. Well, little did I know that 2025 was going to be the most gangbusters market of all time from a liquidity and a value standpoint. And that anyone who had Pokemon cards at the beginning of the year, if they held any of them, they tripled in value minimum over the course of the year, which meant that those who were playing aggressively and churning and burning as much as possible and not taking things off the table, that was actually the right play for 2025 if you were trying to maximize.
Yeah.
And I guess in theory, if you're trying to maximize, that's the right play in almost any environment. But it's kind of risk agnostic. And I'm like I've said in previous podcasts and videos, like I know that I quit my full-time tech job, but like I'm a pretty risk averse person.
Mhm.
And so my biggest Clefumble of the year was that, and based on imperfect knowledge that I had, but that I played more defensively, and I tried to stash sealed product and things like that that I felt really confident in long term, instead of just like keeping things much more business oriented, and keeping personal collection and stashing and all that like out of the equation, and just like
Mhm.
really trying to turn and burn. um, Now we did great because anyone who was involved full time did great last year,
And you guys worked hard. You were
and
you
we
were out
worked
there a
hard and we
lot.
traveled a lot and did the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I know people, know of people who did way better than us, and maybe even didn't have the social media piece,
Yeah.
and just from buy sell trade and grinding and
Yeah.
keeping everything involved in the business and flipping all the time, constantly, um, did like easily seven figures last year, which is
Yeah.
incredible, life changing.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, you didn't have a crystal ball, and
Yeah, no crystal
yeah.
ball. And the other piece here is maybe an excuse for myself, but like I'm in my 30s and I have people that I'm trying to take care of, and like what's even more important to me than like maximizing for them is to create like a minimum standard of
Yeah. Yeah.
of stability for them.
Yeah.
And it's really tough to play both of those games where like you keep things very safe for everyone and that's depending on you, but then you also go out and put it all on the line and make it happen and bet big.
Yeah.
It's hard to do both. They're kind of mutually exclusive to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's but understandable. Like, and someone in the chat said the same thing. Like, totally normal for how new you were in a relative sense to this as a business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some of this gets lost because I'm the kind of person who I do my best to speak with a lot of confidence, but I'm still very new.
Mhm.
Like I'm still very new to YouTube. I'm still very new to being a business owner. I'm still
Yeah.
very new to being, all in on Pokemon cards. Like it's if you've done it for less than 5 years, I still like maybe you're more far along than other people in the hobby, and maybe it's a young industry, but like you're still new.
Mhm. Yeah, I have a video coming out in a few days about the realities of grading cards and hard lessons about grading cards. It's very related to what I'm about to say on my Clefumble, but one of the things I said in that was just that idea of like uh, nobody becomes an expert in something like a year or two in. Like I got back into the hobby about 2 years ago now. I got into grading cards a year ago. So people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, you're the expert. Like, can you pre-grade this card?" It's like, I'm not an expert. I actually think the point, like, I actually think our dynamic, we've never actually said it this way, but I think in some ways, the dynamic of this pod is that like we're both collectors and we're both from like a kind of corporate and business background. So we're kind of like wired similarly in those ways.
Yeah,
But you're the pro, you're the new pro, and I'm the amateur, like I'm the part timer. And I
sure.
think that's part of like the point of view that we can bring. But yeah, I think it's always worth sort of pointing out like you can be a pro or you could be a good amateur and still not be an expert. Like yeah, 2 years. No one gets very few people get expert at anything in less than about 5 or 10 years. To your point, I think 5 is a good cutoff. Like you think about, we always go back to like martial arts for the Machamps, but in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it takes the average person 10 years to get a black belt. Prodigies can get them in 3 to 5 years if it's literally all they do, like 8 hours a day, and they're on steroids and whatever
Yeah.
else.
And that's what
Um,
these people are. Like these people who have sold like in their first year ever selling, they sell multi seven figures. Like they're prodigies. Like they're prodigy number one because of their sales skill, their networking skill, their time investment.
yeah,
And that's something that like it's hard to quantify. Like most of the guys that I have seen, guys, gals, mostly guys, it's Pokemon.
yeah,
Um, Most of the folks that I've seen who like went full gangbusters last year from a numbers standpoint. They were the same people who were working like not a joke, like 100 hours a week, every week, traveling constantly and never off their phone making
Yeah.
deals. Like that's the kind of people we're talking about. And
Yeah.
and kudos to them. They grinded and they chased what they wanted to do. But like I want to make that clear to people that like um it's possible to have that level of success, but just like any other industry, it means that you are pedal to the metal nonstop. And
Yeah.
most of the people who are able to do that are younger, and they have a family life that's either supporting them or not pulling time away from them in any way.
Yeah.
um, and they have good health, and they have savvy social skills, and they're just putting in the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Wind Waker said something. This is a shorthand that gets used a lot. This 10,000 hours to master something, and people debate it, right? The quality of the hours matters, but yeah, most people are going to work about 2,000 hours at their regular job, 40 hours a week. Like there's so much time spent sleeping and managing your life and eating and being alive. And so it's hard to spend more than 2,000 hours a year at anything, inclusive of your full-time job. If you're really focused every hour of the day, 40 hours a week, every single week, then you do 2,000. It still takes 5 years to get great at sales or marketing or whatever. And in marketing, then it's just one piece. Anyway, it takes a long time. Like when you think about MMA, right? There's a reason these MMA fighters, when they go to fight someone like Jake Paul, sometimes these 40-year-old MMA fighters get KO'd because Jake's young and just does this one thing. And these MMA fighters it took them 10 years to just they're not a master at any one thing in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
anyway.
There's so much I want to say about that, but that's not what this podcast
Yeah, I
is
know.
about.
So maybe someday we'll do it. We got to do something, man. Like when we get together, maybe we roll or something. We'll do a little bit of like fight talk, and we'll just put that out.
Yeah, maybe we do like a special, 6 times a year or something like that, where we just like talk about the upcoming UFC card or something like that.
6 times. Oh, separately. I thought you meant in this pod. Like I was like half of our pods just become. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there's some people sometimes engage with that in the chat. But anyway, I will. I'll share my Clefumble, my biggest Clefumble of the year, which was. I also took a very defensive stance towards inventory, but so I'm not going to repeat the same thing that you said, but I was very similar on an even smaller, like much smaller scale. So my thing was sourcing and grading low value cards. So I think, speaking of hours, right, I think I spent about 1,200 to 1,500 hours with Pokemon cards. I kind of tried to tally this up, estimating how much time I spent editing, going to shows, pricing cards, doing this pod, etc. I think somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 hours with Pokemon cards in 2025. I probably spent 100 of those hours grading, and I probably spent 70 of those hours grading stuff that was like not worth grading. And so there was like very minimal ROI in terms of the positive impact to my collection or my vending or my content or whatever, sometimes I get cards back and I'm like, why did I send these like 151 IRs? And they will get 10s, like they'll get 10s all day, but it's like a $5 card. I spent $25. I tied it up. I waited 4 months. And now it's a $55 PSA 10 and no one wants it at shows. So I, sell it on eBay and take an 86%. And like I made $7 in 4 months, but also for the amount of time. Really, the issue is time. It's the same reason. I don't know if this is why you've moved a little bit away from binders. It's the same reason I'm moving away from lower value binders at shows. I'm kind of starting to consolidate that because it just takes the same amount of time to pre-grade and send in a really, really high upside, higher value card. It's the same as it takes a same amount of time to price out a $1 card as it does a $1,000 card in most cases. So anyway, 70 hours it doesn't sound like that much, but it's 5% of the time and energy I spent on the hobby doing something one of the parts that I enjoy the least, like putting together grading shipments, is not glamorous. And it didn't have that much upside. So the ROI, that was really not that good. So I'm grateful for the learnings, and I'm going to talk about this I talked about it here. Obviously I'll talk about it in the video that's coming out on Thursday, but, you've joked before that I'm somebody who doesn't feel regret. I totally do. It's always it's this sort of like, I wasted time, right? 70 hours is like, I could have made 7 videos, educational videos. I could have scripted, edited, and posted in 10 hours each. I could have posted 7 more videos that people got value out of. I could have spent time with my wife. could have slept 70 more hours, but instead I was grading 151 Poliwhirl and Ruler of the Black Flame Cleffa to make $7. So dozens of hours of it's not about the $7, it's about the life energy that I could have spent other ways.
The life energy. Careful where you spend your life energy, folks.
Yeah, that's my Clefumble.
I love it. Been there for sure, constantly. Like, I mean, as an entrepreneur of any scale, where your time is spent is probably the most important thing that you're going to discuss and tweak for the rest of your life.
Totally. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Okay, we are definitely pacing for a 2-hour pod minimum right now, but let's keep it moving. Our last foray in the tall grass today is a new segment also. So not just our biggest Clefumble, but we are going to venture into parts unknown.
Parts unknown.
Parts unknown.
So we're talking about, like, you know, the ruins of Alf and areas like that.
Yes. Yes, parts unknown.
Parts unknown this time is going to be kind of like this is a Ricky idea, and I really liked it, which is like, can we ascribe one word to what happened in the 2025 Pokemon hobby, like retrospectively, and then forward thinking, can we ascribe one word to what we think 2026 will be? And I want you to lead this off, because I think, first of all, your thoughts are very succinct here. Well, they're very built out.
They're clear, maybe not succinct. They're clear.
Yeah, they're not succinct, but they're built out. And this was your idea for a segment, and I really liked it.
Cool, thanks, man. Yeah, I occasionally have ideas. You're often the idea guy. I appreciate the credit.
Yeah, I mean, what you bring to the table is on the spectrum of good ideas.
Thank you so much. That means a moderate amount.
Yeah, that means something.
It means something. It's on the spectrum of things that mean something to me.
It's one of the things that could be said on this podcast.
It is. It really. It's such a good point, Jake. Such a good point, man. Okay, so parts unknown are my word for 2025 retrospectively. I think there's a lot of possibilities. Card shows is on the table. Vendors is on the table. Card grading is on the table. I think a clear choice would be scalpers. I think I think a lot of people would choose scalpers as their 2025. Like, this is the idea here, sort of like 10 years from now, when we think about 2025, what are we going to remember of it? Like, what the hobby was like, or what the space was like. I think scalpers is way, way up.
Hold on, pause while you're talking, Ricky. Everyone who's watching, please put your guess or your feelings about the best word to describe 2025 and what will be the best word for 2026 in the chat. We'd love to see what you guys think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I do think scalpers is way up there. Mine is institutions.
Institutions is your word.
Institutions. Yeah, the amount of deep so, and it's not like a perfect word. I was really trying to pick a single word, but it's including the Kevin O'Learys and the Gary V's, people with really deep pockets. Like, it's one thing for, regular affluent people with a few $100,000 or a few $1 million. It's like, that's real money, but that's not market moving money in most cases, in most markets. When I say institutions, I'm talking about corporations and billionaires and multi-deca millionaires, 100 millionaires, whatever. And a lot of them turn their attention this year to collectibles and Pokemon in particular. And there's a variety of reasons for that. But the average scalper is somebody who camped out and made like $100, and they moved the needle like collectively, and sealed product scarcity definitely drove a lot of what 25 represented in Pokemon cards. But I think a few years from now, when we look back, it's going to be the entrance of corporations. Like, I think that's really, really shaped a lot. Like, that's the thing that stands out to me when I think about 2025. It's like, that was what was different from 2025 versus 2024. And I don't think they're going to exit suddenly in 2026. I think they're just going to like even more heavily potentially shape the next couple years. So it's institutions beyond Pokemon company. Obviously, we're talking the GameStops and the way PSA's moving and Arena Club and the obvious, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's institutions, the one that came up for me.
Yeah, I love that. Mine's pretty similar. Mine is Capitalize. 2025 was a year when everyone involved, small to big, recognized that there was some arbitrage to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's arbitrage in any marketplace, it's just like the powers that be and those who have the forethought and the willingness to take a little risk rush to kind of like fill that
Mm-hmm.
arbitrage. Like it's honestly like arbitrage in the marketplace is like when you open the drain in your bathtub. It's like it just pulls in things so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like pressure that has to be met, and money moves to fill that hole. And when the right people noticed, um, last year, they moved in with big bets. So I'm thinking about, like we just talked about one of them, the Pokemon company going in big bets with hundreds of millions of dollars that they're going to put into a new facility.
Yeah.
We've got, like, and then you said other institutional players. You've got PSA putting big bets on
Yeah.
partnerships and acquisitions.
Yeah.
You've got GameStop, big bets on a new product line and a new go-to-market approach with all of the product that they're getting from TCPI
Yeah.
and all these other companies. But then you also see big bets coming in from these card show companies. Like when I was going to Front Row Card Show in 2024, like the room always had buyers and sellers, and there were some deals happening. But like when there was this arbitrage of there's way more people than there are spaces at vendor tables at shows to buy and sell cards, you had
Mm.
big bets, people coming in and saying, okay, well, let's double and triple the size of the room and double and triple the quantity of shows that we're putting on. And then the same thing happened on the vendor side. Let's double and triple the amount of money I'm willing to pull out of my savings or out of somewhere else and put into Pokemon to travel and to pay for tables and to pay for equipment and to, pay for grading costs and all those kinds of things. And then all the way down to the collector. Like it's from the top all the way down to the bottom. The collector, let's put big bets on what I'm willing to pre-order from my LGS, what I'm willing to, go into the internet and try to find for myself, the amount of time I'm willing to wait outside a GameStop or wherever to get a booster box. Like we're talking about people who saw kind of the light at the end of the tunnel and they capitalized with their time and their money. And 2025 resulted in huge liquidity and price increases because of that.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, we're on a similar page here. Some good ones in the chat. Let's feature a few of them. 2025 boom, 2026 anniversary. Yeah, makes sense.
Boom.
FOMO to meticulous. Yeah, bowl. That makes sense. Pumped. Yeah, botting. Kind of similar to scalpers. It's definitely on the list. Unfortunately, yeah, bots is another one. Yeah, that's on the list for sure.
Well, botting is just, again, it's a downstream of kind of what I'm saying about capitalize.
It is.
In order to feel like it's worth your time to, write the code for a bazillion bots to go and scrape the internet for buying opportunities, like you don't do that unless there's margin to be found.
Yeah, I hear you. 2026 Pokopia. Yeah, I started seeing like pre-order ads on Instagram today about it. I think so.
Yo, I put in my pre-order. I want to get that. I got to get that Ditto. From
Ditto plush.
Ditto plush. I need that.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, card stores. Yeah, that's up there too. I mean, definitely a lot of card stores popped up this year. I don't know. It's definitely not. It's not a top 3 for me, but it's totally like it's on the table as a top 10ish. Like no doubt, card stores are a big thing this year. Yeah. Okay, a lot of good questions coming through that I will star for later. So Q&A, folks, we will be at Q&A. I'm gonna guess we're gonna be at Q&A in 45 minutes, and we'll spend 20-ish minutes there with y'all. That'd be my guess. Keep hanging around. We've got a few hundred people in here for the new year. 2026. My 2026, venturing into parts unknown, my 2026 word predicted headline is gambling.
Ooh.
So unfortunately, another sort of negative leaning one. Like I would love to sit here and be like healing or community or collectors. And I actually do think like I think maybe 2027 it will be that. I actually think it could be that in 2027, but we are hitting a fever pitch, like culturally in the US, right? Over the last few years, it's just been growing and growing and growing. The DraftKings sports betting and the prediction markets was a big big thing for 2025 generally, just outside of Pokemon. And so like, dude, imagine an entire collectibles category or Pokemon category on Kalshi or Polymarket, and people can gamble and bet on like how much will Logan Paul's Pikachu sell for. You're like betting on betting. Like the name of the next feature, the name of the next set, or the feature Pokemon of the next set, or like an obvious one, the price of the booster box, the price of the main chase card. You can bet on, is it going to be under or over? Is it going to be over 450 but less than 500? Like I feel like that's coming. And that's also before like all the very obvious pull games, which we're definitely going to talk about in our main topic today. It's almost one of the major underlying things in this main topic of Pokemon card graded card market in 2026. But even just setting aside the pull games and the mystery packs and stuff, you know, when we met with Bulbasaur on our Thanksgiving Eve stream, we talked about the Pokemon Company themselves testing the waters with the Prismatic Surprise Box, which was a bit of a surprise Pikachu face moment for me, because it didn't really like hit my radar that way. That like they were doing the pull box thing. I just didn't think of it at the time. It was just kind of just came and went. But we realized sort of live, I was like, wait, they were testing the waters to see what they could get away with. And like the Pokemon Company themselves might do more beyond the obvious of like booster pack. So anyway, I do think, and I hope I will pick a more positive word in our January 5th-ish stream in 2027. If we do this again, which I imagine we will. But I think that's where my head goes. I think when we look back on 2026 in 2036, we're going to talk about how much gambling was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Undoubtedly. I mean, those marketplaces are generating so much revenue. And there's so many companies involved now because the market is so big that like having one or two players just isn't enough to quell the demand. Scary, honestly.
Yeah.
For just the mere fact that like you know, and this is going to get into the realm of science I just don't know enough about, but like the human dopaminergic response to social media isn't enough, and so now we have to add like pervasive gambling in every part of life. It is frightening to see like that take hold everywhere. And then obviously like our hobby has always had some measure of like the RNG game, the results of the RNG dice roll, and like the elation that comes when it lands in your favor. Like, and if you don't think this has happened to you, you're lying, because like if you've ever pulled a chase card and been excited, you're in that group. If you've ever been playing the game and you come across a shiny in the wild and you got excited, you're in that group. That's what they're playing to. It's natural for human beings to be in that group. And
yeah.
My word for 2026 is, I think, again, we're thinking on the same lines here, but my word is expansion. And what I mean by that is now that we have these bigger players, and again, this is going to be a word that's applicable from the big players all the way down to the bottom, but I'll start with the big players.
Okay.
Now that we have these bigger players investing more and more into the collectibles hobby in different ways, a lot of these bigger players are either themselves or they're hoping to become publicly traded companies. And publicly traded companies have an insatiable fiduciary responsibility to grow and provide stock returns for their investors. Like legally, they have to pursue growth always, either growth or dividends or both. And when they find arbitrage, like PSA has done, and they can push the market to create more revenue. So, for example, PSA, upcharging you for cards that are more expensive, or doing their buyback program and buying and selling in the secondary market. Like they saw those as opportunities to generate revenue.
Yeah.
Well, at a certain point, they're going to grow to a size, or they're going to be required to, based on their C-suite or the investors that own them, to get even bigger,
Yeah.
to create new revenue streams that are even more, to double click on things that are working. And what that means is they're going to be insatiable in their pursuit of extracting even more money from the hobby, because there's tons of places in the hobby that these main players are not capitalizing yet. But there is opportunity that's either being, capitalized on by smaller players, or just no one's using it yet. And they're going to expand into those places. And what exactly does that mean? We don't know yet, but there's going to be research and development. There's going to be experiments, and they're going to try to find ways to make more money from you. And that's going to mean business expansion. Now, what does expansion mean for all the players going, all the way down? Well, for card shows, everyone already knows this. They're trying to be more weekends, more locations, more vendors. I've been contacted more than I've ever been before from organizers to, go to shows and, make appearances and travel overseas and whatever for shows that are trying to gain some notoriety. And that's going to continue. What does it mean for us hobbyists? Well, like, it means that hobbyists are going to look for new ways to have a unique collection. And I think this is kind of a less formulated thought that I'm having. But I think that when you have big players move into the hobby that kind of turn a piece of it into just like utter business and profit motivation, like we have with the graded card market, I think that like it's going to create a little bit, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's going to create a little bit of a stigma where a percentage of collectors just don't want to be affiliated with that at all. And they're going to try to collect in ways that like keep them out of that. They don't want to be involved with it. They don't have trust in it. They think it's manipulated. And so they're going to try to find different ways to collect, and they're going to expand their collections. And so I think that what we're going to find in this year is going to be people are going to be create novel paths, novel styles of collecting cards. That it's just going to be new miniature marketplaces. And some of them are going to kind of burn out and not really going to gain much traction. And some of them are going to become mainstays in how people like to collect cards. Not that I created this, style of collecting, but like last year or 2 years ago, I kind of came up with this idea of having a God binder and having every page dedicated to one singular Pokemon. Like that kind of thing is going to kind of become more and more common. And then other people are going to create new types of collecting. And so there's going to be new terms that are created. People are going to come to your table and say, I'm collecting for my XYZ. And then all of a sudden everyone's going to be doing some of that. Or a lot of people are going to be doing it just like that. And like pumping a Kabuto card, pump and dumps, that's going to happen for sure. But I'm talking about like just different styles and strategies of collecting. And that's exciting because, again, it means that's what small secondary markets do to kind of adapt to when the big institutions get involved and do things that kind of make it feel icky to be part of that. Like an adjacent thing that I'm thinking about is the video game industry, and I brought up this comparison before, but it's just a little bit further along than the trading card industry. And so much of AAA gaming is just so gross and like overly competitive and overly corporatized
Yeah.
and overly monetized. And that's why we're seeing like some of the most successful video games are made independently, and because they're novel and they're true to the human condition, and they're interesting to people, and they're not corporatized. And I think that's going to happen in our hobby too. So that's hopeful, but also I don't know what it looks like yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably I don't know, like bimodal. Like it's probably gonna bring good and bad things. It's, dude, I almost chose the word pendulum for 2026 for the same reason. Like that pendulum swinging other directions. We talked about the indie games thing and indie music thing, that a lot of the best music and games in 2025 were smaller shops. Like all the Game of the Year awards, it wasn't as much representation from the huge AAA Ubisoft loot box companies and games. It was Expedition 33 and Hollow Knight Silksong and those sorts of things. And it wasn't Taylor Swift putting out her best album ever. It was just like smaller artists to putting out high quality. So, and then I didn't even think about this, but you're making such a good point. At the show this weekend, JT, who Pokebro JT is in the chat and is a mod in our chat, and he vends with me, and he's normally a PSA 10 slab collector primarily. But he started offloading some of his slabs, and he's like, yeah, dude, the whole thing, the way it's all going right now is like, it's kind of putting me off a little bit right now. So like, I think I'm going to kind of get out of slabs and like work on other stuff. And I was trying to figure out where I was going to say this in the pod, and this is such a perfect place for it. I bought a collection. I don't know so folks who saw this video, I bought a collection the other day that was, I think, one of the riskiest, maybe the riskiest collection buy I've got, because I didn't actually look very closely item for item at the spreadsheet. I just like made an offer and bought it. And when I got it in, it was a lot of Japanese stuff. And that's fine. Like there's some really cool Japanese hits, the Reds Pikachu and the Tag Team GX trainer cards that are very liquid, very like Japanese exclusive. Everyone loves them.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of $26 rainbow VMAXs. And I was like, oh boy, like there could be a future where I am listing these on eBay and just spending like hours and hours and hours to try to get a few dollars back out of each one of these. And this weekend, we had our biggest 4 case setup. Yeah, I bought an extra case of 4 cases for the first time. We had a case just dedicated to Japanese cards on the first day, and
Cool.
we emptied down half of it on Saturday and sold about half of the remaining half on Sunday. And almost all of those cards were going into binders for regular collectors. And
Yes.
I did not feel that at a single show. 12 to 25 to $50, and of course the $200 Japanese cards went too. They always did, and they went in 2025 too. But like, yeah, dude, Dragonite V-Star Rainbow Rare in Japanese, like $16 card or whatever. Like we sold an unbelievable. I like that collection almost gone, right? Like Pokebro can tell me like he's right, yeah, like we couldn't believe it. And so that's such a good point to like, this is collectors expanding into these other areas, right? It's people who got back into the hobby maybe recently, and their reaction or defense or whatever it is, the pendulum swing to the way things are right now was to say, hey, this is what I like, and it's what I can afford. And so I'm going to do this. Somebody else came by and bought Team Rocket's Meowth with the swirl, the Black Star promo from JT, and it went into a cat themed binder.
Shout out Pokemon cats.
All the Pokemon cats. So it's exactly what you're saying, man. It's your one page. I do the sleepy arts. I'm doing underwater scenes. It's such a good point that like on the micro level, at the individual collector level, that's going to be our reaction to the expansion that might be happening. The expansion might be happening in the institutional level. Such a good point, dude. You're right.
Yeah. And it just goes back to Pokemon's cool. Pokemon's inclusive. Pokemon is for everybody. And yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about this, some of the grading card feelings that we have, but like in general, you and I both are still pursuing really fun and cool personal collection things, and we know that pretty much everyone here is doing that as well.
100%, man. Okay. Do you want to while I mute myself and cough because I just drank water down the wrong pipe, do you want to plug our something new that we're sharing with the Machamps?
Yes, and for those of you who maybe already looked at the description of this live on YouTube, I believe it's there. I think I copied and pasted it correctly.
Okay.
But we have the Machamps Dojo Discord channel that is technically it's live right now. I think many of you have already joined it. Like
Really?
I'm pretty sure my Discord has like been pinging earlier in the live, but we made a Discord channel, and it's very simple for now, but we will build it out more in the future. There's a big piece of it that we're going to be using for the consultations that Ricky and I are working on with some of the people who've reached out to us to get some one-on-one coaching about, you know, vending and content creation, that kind of stuff. So there's some exclusive channels and whatever that we'll build out, but there's also just kind of general channels. We'd love to have as many of you who want to be involved in the Discord. Obviously, we have you know, some rules and regulations there. Please don't, you know, make any trouble. We do have mods, so we will boot you if you make trouble, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'm excited to get in there and to interact with you guys. And we'll add future channels and benefits and things like that as we go along. And if you have ideas that you would love to see in a Discord community, feel free to put them in the general chat. And Rick and I will obviously be looking through that from time to time.
Control Drew so cynical. Just Trey can it's a free Discord. Trey can attest that we have no specific, like it's so formless. It was like, let's just create a community that's basically an extension of the chat that happens during this pod every 2 weeks. So we genuinely have no ideas or plans. Jake and I know nothing about how to monetize a Discord, even if we wanted to.
Yeah, I love this comment. Money grab, I can dig it. You know what, Limitless Mind Glitch? First of all, what we have in the chat here is for free. But if and when we decide to monetize something, our philosophy is that we're only going to monetize something if it has like really a lot of value and return on investment.
Totally.
And hopefully you can get down with that, because if you're someone in this world who buys things, then you're okay with that philosophy.
Love it. David, highly requested, verified by me, Jarvitar. I made it in an hour. We're just hanging. Yeah. I mean, the only chat that's happened in it so far is me and Trey went back and forth in an admin chat about some real nerdy competitive Pokemon stuff.
Yeah.
Item and ability combos. That's all that's happened in there. So go check it out.
Yeah. You guys help us form the identity of this community. Yeah. We're just getting started.
100%. Yeah. So some people are saying maybe the link, something not working in the description. So we will work on that after. It looks like Trey's here. Trey, if you can, I think we can only do like temporary invite links that only last like 7 days, but maybe Trey, if you can pull that and drop it, there we go. Drop it in the chat. Yeah, free and just the chat, right? Like Deverino Gambino here saying a Discord would be sweet, even just the chat. That is literally 95% of its utility right now. The other 5%.
Gambino is one of the better handles I've ever seen. So shout out to you, Gambino.
Yeah, the other 5% is that just there's going to be one private channel for just exclusive to the private coaching clients. But for everybody else, it's like, yeah, go discuss and chat and be cool. And the vibe should be what the vibe is in the chat right now for the last whatever hour and a half we've been here. It's just that all week long instead of once every 2 weeks. That's literally as far as we went with the concept so far.
Yeah, but again, we have, you know, potential ideas that we might use it for, like things like exclusive podcasts and other types of helpful content and all that kind of stuff. So you know, we can do lots of things, but this is just the beginning.
100%, man. Yes. Yeah. Really excited about it. Okay. Shall we now talk about our main topic is 2026, the year of the Pokemon graded card collapse.
Let's get into it, man. Like we're only 90 minutes in, so let's get started.
90 minutes in. I am dreaming of eating a little cup of yogurt after this, but we are cranking, dude. Do you want to set the stage? I have so many thoughts. This is like all I can think about right now. Is this graded card?
It's a huge topic, and what I want to maybe start off with here, guys, is like there's no way that we can adequately discuss everything that's going to impact what's going to happen to graded cards in 2026. Like this would be a long conversation. But I think where I would like to be with this, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky, but like I want to talk about the things that are going to that have been and will really impact like the sentiment behind collecting graded cards.
Okay.
Um, and that can be, you know, their value and the big players that are involved and the decisions that they're making and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's what is most interesting because at the end of the day, what is going to change things on the long term is demand. And demand changes in the near term because of sentiment, but
Yeah.
it changes in the long term because of fundamentals.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals and things that will impact sentiment in the near term. And also we're just going to be very, you know, candid about opinions. There's not very many facts that are going to come out of what will happen in 2026. It's really just going to be what do we know and what do we think that's going to do to the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed that I think that's where we should ultimately take the conversation. I think there's some stage setting probably worth doing around where we are right now. Because I think where we are right now is something that it's like different than it was 2 months ago. I think graded cards specifically. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I can kind of walk through some of these bullets that I wrote up here if we want to do that.
Yeah. I wrote a few too, and I think it'll all converge. So I think we set the stage for folks, and then let's talk about how it's the sort of sentiment.
So the reason this is even a question, because like, you know, when I got involved in the hobby, it was still relatively unique to be grading TCG cards. I mean, PSA, if I'm not mistaken, the acronym stands for Professional Sports Authenticator, right? So, like, they're grading the most cards, but like, they're a sports card grading company according to their name.
Yeah.
And so it was still pretty unique back in 2020. And back then, you know, the creators that I was following that were kind of like the well-known people were not talking about graded cards. Um, and so over the course starting in 2021 maybe and then go over the last number of years like graded cards have become like a mainstay.
Yeah.
And well, what do most people have access to? Well, most people have access to modern cards because you can open them out of a box, or you know, they're more plentiful in your local area or at your card store or whatever. And so grading modern cards became very popular, and there was clear arbitrage there. Regardless of the fact that like there's really high pop reports and great gem rates, people still put a big premium on graded 10 modern cards. But a lot of it has diminished and diminished just compared to the peak, right? Like, you know, almost every graded card you could think of is still more expensive now than it was a year ago, but it's still diminished, and not just the value, but like liquidity of it. Like
Mhm.
it's pretty slow right now. Like graded
Mhm.
modern slabs are tough to sell individually. And that's why almost every vendor that you know is selling a lot of their slabs to these repack companies, almost all of them. And that's because like that's the only place to make the same money you were making, you know, a couple months ago, is because you can just buy in bulk and then sell in bulk and just kind of make that small arbitrage between what your buy and sell price in large quantities. Um, and that goes into the repack company process of sponging up inventory all over the country and all over the world. People are also fearful about a PSA monopoly. And I know that like when I think I did a stream a couple weeks before Christmas, and like a pretty common question in my chat, because I think I had like in passing mentioned that I had a stack of cards that I planned on grading, and people were pretty genuinely asking like, "Oh, are you still planning on grading with PSA?" Um, And so like there's some fear around them as a company, the conflicts of interest, some of the potential bad acting that they've been doing.
Yep.
Um,
Understandably.
and yeah, that's kind of where we are as some of the things that like in general I know are going to be impacting sentiment in the near term. Anything
Yeah.
you want to add there, Ricky?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that folks, because I imagine some people in the chat that especially those that are at shows as vendors know this, but I think there's probably people that aren't aware of this trend of the um, dumping to the repackers. Um, so uh, right now, like a lot of the young guys, especially, it's often young dudes, but a lot of the young guys that that have normally or historically done a lot of vending or streaming are doing a lot less of those things right now, and they're just running around shows buying $200,000 to $500,000 of cards,
They're not
and they
even
will
buying
buy.
tables.
They're not even
They're not,
buying.
they're not even vending at their table. They're
No, no,
just
no.
like they're just sprinting around
Yeah,
the
yeah.
show and buying things and stuffing them in their case.
Yeah, yeah, they're the 2 Zion suitcases, and they're like, "I need to spend $40,000 today on 100 on, like, any slabs under $5,000, PSA 7 or better," and they will pay 85 to 86% in a lot of cases. Not bad for a quick offload. And the big thing here, one of the interesting trends that, and one of the reasons I'm engaging in this strategy right now, this arbitrage, is because they will take anything because they're going to these mystery pack, like liquidity is irrelevant, right? So you talked about this, but like I just really wanted to be clear for the folks that aren't aware. There are at any given show a bunch of kids running around spending hundreds of thousands of dollars buying at 85%. And so what you can do if you're a vendor is take in anything. A kid comes up to you with like a Japanese Blastoise VMAX PSA 10, a $33 Japanese card. No, like very few collectors would truly want that card. And the money I can make trading a $26 single at 85% is like a couple dollars. It's not worth taking in normally as a vendor. I'm just taking that stuff in because I'm just turning around every 2 hours. I just run over to another table or flag down somebody, and I'm like, hey, these 4 slabs, 86%, boom. Like, you know, I took them in at 79%. I made 7% for zero risk, zero effort. I was just there.
Zero effort. You walked across the vending room.
And sometimes I didn't even.
You just frisbeed them across the hall.
Oh no, just that they came to me, right? Like that'll prearrange it, right? I'll ping a guy and I'll tell him like, what are you buying right now? And he'll say everything but this. Interestingly, they stopped for a little bit buying 100 to 5. One of the companies that one of the guys works for stopped buying $100 to $500 cards. They overbought on that segment because that's like a lot of slabs fall into that category. But yeah, dude, like I mean, it's really it's very different vibe and strategy than what was going on a little while ago, and it will not last forever. And I think there's some really interesting implications of that. But anyway, that was the other piece I wanted. You did a great job, but I also wanted to set the stage on that in case anyone was not aware that like that is rampant right now.
It is rampant, and I don't know exactly what to think about it. Let's save that for another day because I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts I'm trying to formulate around like the participation in that part of the hobby, good or bad or neutral.
Okay.
But that's a big part of what's happening at these card shows right now, for sure. But like it's a downstream effect of the moving in of large institutional buyers, and we just don't know. Like you would think like my presupposition, or if like you told me a year ago that was going to happen, I would have said, oh, okay, all the graded cards are going to go up in price. That's not what happened. Like around the same time as like the rumors started to spread around these buyers being at the bigger shows and walking around and spending 7 figures in a weekend on slabs so they could dump them for, 2% more than they bought them or whatever.
Yeah, that was Card Party, right? That was really starting to happen around then. The Collecticon Houston, that was a week before. It was like October, September.
Yeah, like that became like more well-known knowledge to the general buyer and seller at the show around that time in the fall.
Yeah.
And that's the exact time that the graded card market started to tank. Like especially modern. Like vintage has been interesting for the last while, but like the modern market has pretty much tanked in value since October.
Yeah.
So
really bad. There's a lot of like it's easy to find things in my vending inventory that went down 40-50%.
Yeah, I mean, every show between October and December, I had to resticker downwards every weekend, which, you know, it feels so good.
I mean, it is what it is, you know. I have thoughts on that too, but yes, it feels bad.
It feels great. So there's all those things that are coming into play, and then there's the additional drama of like, okay, the company as PSA, they have these monopolistic tendencies to acquire their smaller competitors, and then to either, you know, so far our sample size is with SGC, which they basically just sunsetted and squished. We don't know what their plan is to do with Beckett, but it seems to me like they have no reason. I don't see a really good competitive advantage of them keeping like Beckett in big business and investing tons of resources into them. I don't know a business case for that. You know, it seems to me like it would just make more business sense to squish them. But I don't know.
Yeah.
And so we've got that. And then we also have the conflicts of interest and all of the power and control that they have the second that you send them your cards. That it's in their hands to hopefully not damage it, to grade it however they want, and to make you whatever offer they think that they want, and then hopefully they grade it, and then that's the actual grade of it. But there's also now this evidence of they grade it and it's actually they resticker it and grade it something else and make you an offer based on a lower grade. And again, they've said that that's an accident, but like it just shows that they have complete and subjective control over your cards and the value thereof the second that lands in their warehouse.
Yep.
And so all of these things put together are scaring some people off. Like you brought up your friend who had collected previously, sounds like almost exclusively in PSA 10, and mostly that probably was modern.
Heavily
at
modern.
least, yeah, it had to be modern because like it's hard to have an exclusively vintage PSA 10 collection.
Yeah, he likes everything, but his collection is primarily modern.
Yeah. And well, why did you want to do that in the past? Well, because it had a premium, it was very liquid, and it was, supposedly a really great representation of that card artwork. It wasn't off center and wasn't beat up and all that kind of stuff. So there's kind of a increased rarity there. All the main reasons that you would collect graded cards in the past. But are the things that are scaring people off, are those going to, for enough people, outweigh the obvious benefits of having your card graded? The liquidity, the protection, the exclusivity, the general acceptance, at least in the past, by the marketplace that there should be a premium for a 10 over a near mint copy. Is it going to spell like an exodus from graded cards?
If you're asking me, I think the answer is no, not on a widespread level. I think your earlier point about expansion is sort of what comes to mind here, that some people will understandably, especially those that just, I think the people this hurts the most, the way that this is going now, and the whole sentiment around the power pack stuff, is it good or bad or neutral? Is it maybe a different topic for a different day? We had people in the chat giving both stances, and like I could see both sides. But yeah, the main people it hurts is people like my buddy JT, who genuinely just likes collecting PSA 10 modern cards. That's actually like who this sucks the most for in some ways. So I think some of those people understandably will be scared off temporarily, right? They're kind of like, oh, maybe I'll switch to collecting in a different way for now and kind of keep things moving and get out of my whatever position or collection and PSA 10 modern cards, and then I'll wait and see what happens with it over the next 6 or 9 or 12 months, and then maybe I'll go back to it eventually, because that's just what I just know that JT genuinely likes that. There's a lot of people out there that that's just what they actually genuinely like to collect. So I think for those people it'll be tough. I think for you alluded to vintage. I don't know how much we want to get into that, but vintage graded cards is really fascinating right now, and record sales are happening all the time on that stuff. So it's like a completely different ball game there. Like the people that I see that are really making that in 2025 made really bold plays. I saw this this vendor who I've seen at Collecticon before. Maybe you know him. A guy who will set up with one case with 5 slabs in it. And it's all like Gold Star PSA 10 Umbreon, Gold Star PSA 10 Espeon. And they had made a IG story post recently that said, that was sharing some of those plays. And there were a lot of plays that were like, they bought this card for 35K and sold it for 65K. And so, you know, like, like an entire annual salary, median annual salary in 1 or 2 plays like that. And it just took a lot of risk and conviction and foresight and connections and all these different things. Patience, I'm sure. But yeah, to your original question, like, is there going to be an exodus? No. If anything, the gambling aspect temporarily will bring a lot of people into it, because some of the people that are going to do these gambling packs that previously didn't care about Pokemon will choose the option to have a cool card shipped to them, and that card is going to be in a slab, and that might get them into collecting slabs. So if anything, I think in the short term it could be a temporary, like, you know, it's the pendulum's going to swing.
Yeah. I mean, when I originally thought about it, I thought that, okay, well, the demand is going to stay high because these repack companies need to acquire more inventory, because they're going to ship out some percentage of what people actually hit in these mystery bags. And so the companies will need to restock. But then I was like, well, but they don't really, that doesn't necessarily impact the market much, because all of the sales, they're not creating sales data when someone hits a $5,000 slab and then it gets shipped out to them.
Sure.
Like that transaction is not hitting any sort of database that people are using for the value of that card.
Yep.
And so there could still just be, like, you know, a high comp or a low comp that happens on eBay or some other auction house that actually impacts what that card will trade for in the future. And that's why I think that, like, as far as like value of cards, I'm not sure exactly how these mystery packs are going to impact again, card value. They inevitably will impact card liquidity. But then when it comes to modern, like, yeah, I think with this topic, because there's so much demand by these repack companies with these modern cards, because they trade so frequently and so they're more easily valued.
Yeah.
And so it makes more sense to put a Rayquaza VMAX in your power pack than it makes, you know, put some other $1,500 card that's maybe traded less frequently. They're much more confident about the Rayquaza VMAX.
Yeah.
And so maybe the better next question is, okay, maybe it doesn't crash the card market, the trading card market, but like, does it change specific segments of that card market forever? And this is where you and I kind of discussed briefly the takes of our good friend Ern about what this could mean for cards that are worth less $150. And, you know, certain segments of cards maybe are in demand or fall out of demand forever, and there's no more arbitrage there. And maybe we kind of talk a little bit about that. Do you want to lead that out, Ricky?
Yeah. I watched this video multiple times. So shout out Ern. He's been a guest on the podcast before, and we were talking about maybe circling back around to some of our earlier guests and having them on again sometime soon in the first half of the year here. I think Ern's about to hit 4K subscribers on YouTube last I saw. So
yeah, shout out Ern.
Go sub to the guy. So he in this video, he basically, his point of view was that he thinks that that there's not going to be a need from these buyers for cheaper slabs, and that will lead to a surplus of supply. So the example here that another totally underrated PokeTuber you should subscribe to, Pokemon Steven, had pointed out on Instagram was this like Mega Camerupt EX Japanese, like one of the regular rare like Japanese pulls, PSA 10, it's a new card. PSA has slow turnarounds right now, so probably it sold 1 or 2 times or something at $125. I mean, nobody, like very, very, very few people truly would want this card from a collection standpoint, and far fewer at $125 value. We're talking a regular Japanese EX in a 10. This is a $1 or $2 raw card that you can just pull. You'll be tired if you open that set. You'll be tired of seeing this Mega Camera Up DX. $125 in a lunar pack or whatever, and people are just going to pick the buyback option, right? If you buy a $100 lunar pack, you get a $125 thing, and it's like, we'll give you $105 back. You take the $105. You don't get the Mega Camera Up PSA 10 shipped to you. And so eventually these stay in supply, like they're like an NFT. It's just a photo of a low end card that rarely ever actually gets to the end consumer in practice. And Ern's point of view was that the low end stuff will crash as a result, because there will be this crazy supply of them, but like they will just continue to circulate and they'll get dumped at some point. And then the higher end hits, some people will claim. And so those the supply of those will kind of get choked. And you used the term like sponging up earlier, that a lot of them that don't get sent to an individual end consumer just sit in a warehouse somewhere at Arena Club or PSA or whoever. So his point of view was that could lead, and he's like, I don't know when, but let's say in the next year or so, 18 months, that could lead to a crash in low end slabs because that supply stays circulating at the pull game companies. I am inclined to agree, but you had hinted when we were chatting the other day that you might have a different take than that. So I don't know what your take is, but I would love to hear it, because that's what we're doing here. So we're debating Ern even though he's not here.
Yeah, I can't disagree with the last piece, which is that I do feel like this could have a pretty big impact on lower population vintage cards.
Yeah,
because there's just not enough of them. And so when they get bought up by these third-party companies, that's just another buyer for them that will take them off the regular marketplace. And so they're in effect going to be even more scarce, which most likely results in higher price points. I disagree with the low end piece, though.
Interesting.
Because I totally understand the logistics of people not redeeming those cards and then them going back to, and just sit in the warehouse and be cycled for 90% over and over and over again. But some percentage of those are being sent out. Maybe let's call it 10%. Maybe it's less, but let's call it 10. It's probably around 10. And what in effect is happening is that there are more buyers and bigger buyers for those cards than there were a year ago. A year ago, people were grading low-end cards to become PSA 10s, like your Polywhirl, like you mentioned earlier, or that Camera Up. Like, people are still going to grade that because there's an arbitrage there.
Sure.
And this year, hundreds of thousands of those slabs are sponged up by these repack companies. And so they're just not available. And so in order for, at least as far as I understand it, Ern's hypothesis to come true, there needs to be so many of these graded more than last year that it overcomes the fact that there are bigger buyers for bigger quantities of them than ever before, which doesn't really mean anything for the repack company or about the repack company. It just means that there's a much larger supply, which is that effect is agnostic to whether or not the repack companies are buying them. It's just that there's more buyers. But I agree that there could be a sentiment change, just because if graded cards become synonymous with mystery pack companies more than they are today, which they inevitably will be because those businesses are expanding,
100%.
A lot of people are going to be getting some or all of their graded cards exclusively from repack companies.
Yeah.
And a part of that repack product is a good feeling when you hit a big hit and a bad feeling when you hit a small hit. And if lower end PSA 10s just kind of over the course of the year or future years become synonymous with I'm a gambling product loser, and that's the only reason I own this card, then maybe there is some sentiment change. But that's not a measurable thing that I could say, oh, it's going to impact the market this amount in advance of it actually happening. So it's an interesting thing to talk about, but I don't know exactly what that'll mean from a sentiment standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember, I don't think this was nearly at the scale that this stuff will be this upcoming year, and the potential like stigma or whatever comes with it. But I do remember, as Whatnot was really getting popular, and these other streaming platforms, but let's just say Whatnot first, that sometimes when I'm vending, someone would come to the table and they have a really like random set of it's like a PSA 7 of a modern card. It's a CGC 8 of some other modern card. And I almost always, I'd be like, well, you buying these on just Whatnot streams? And the answer was always yes. It was this like kind of unfocused random thing. So, and not to the point that became a stigma thing, that if you had this random smattering of random grades of cards that no collector would actually buy, that meant that you were like a degenerate Whatnot loser or whatever. Like I didn't have that level of judgment around it, and I don't think other people did either. But like that's a thing, right? You nodded at it. You're like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it is possible that this year there's more of that. It's interesting. I saw I was laughing at Wind Waker's Gotcha here. You said arbitrage a few times in this stream, and Tiny Flame, another person who's often in our chat saying smart things, gave us Jarbitrage collectibles is pretty good.
I'll stop talking for the rest of the night.
No, you haven't made a bad point yet, in my opinion. But
well, to wrap up my opinion on this, these repack companies, as we have already seen, are going to buy certain types of cards more than others, and they're going to change their buying techniques based on what they have and what they need. And other companies are going to react off of what's available, what they can sell. And so I expect pretty much every type of card is going to, at some point, participate in the repack business model. So that'll even out. But to answer the question of the stream, is 2026 going to be the year of Pokemon graded card collapse? I want to bring up a fact here that we really haven't talked about quite yet, which is PSA's first mover advantage, and the fact that 98% of people who have ever decided that they wanted to collect graded Pokemon cards have owned either partially or exclusively PSA cards. And some of those people, will get scared off by headlines and whatever. But just as many people that are scared off by that same number or more are going to be new collectors that get into the hobby and discover that PSA is what's most in demand, and that's what they're going to default towards. And that same number of people are going to be getting involved in the graded card market because they start opening mystery packs and lunar packs and whatever, and most of those cards are PSA slabs. And almost all the people, this is something that our good friend Drew Marcucci mentions when he talks about PSA and their advantage. Anybody who's looking to create some sort of like set of some sort, all of, reverse hollows from this generation or first edition base hollows or whatever it may be. If you're trying to collect a set of graded cards, it almost always has to be PSA. Just by the sheer number of cards that are already graded by them, millions and millions and millions of them. And when there's already so many millions graded, there's already such a precedent for collectors buying them, which will create more of a precedent for collectors continuing to grade with them because there's already market confidence in their resellability. And I don't see a world where PSA fumbles this football. Like they have like an infinite money glitch, unlimited positive feedback loops, virtually a monopoly on the industry, general widespread market acceptance, and billions of dollars worth of collectibles already graded through them that already have transaction history. So, like, how do they fall out of favor? I don't see it happening.
Agreed. Yeah, they are quadruple dipping right now, and it feels kind of bad. And I don't see it changing. They're just gonna find a way to quintuple dip in
Yeah.
2026.
Like, in some ways, it's like shopping at Walmart. It's like, I know some things about Walmart that I don't like,
Yeah,
but they have the best prices on stuff.
that's funny. It's an interesting take. Yeah, until there's some sort of controversy, that some real, true, deep moral reason to avoid PSA, right? I mean, like I've gone down the rabbit hole before of avoiding as much as possible buying clothes from companies that participate in slave labor overseas. Like,
Sure.
until you get into that zone, yeah, it's Dan said the same thing in one of his videos, Catch 'em All Collectibles, and I'm saying the same thing in a video, in this grading video that's coming out in a few days. You don't have to like it, but like, the person you're hurting the most if you don't participate in it as a way of like boycotting is yourself. Like, I don't feel great about it. But like, yeah, grading was like 50. We talked about this last stream. Grading was like 50% of my profits. It really helped my margin, and it was overall pretty efficient for me. So particularly as somebody who has limited time to spend on making money through the hobby as a means of growing my collection without making my wife question where I'm spending my 9-to-5 salary. Grading with PSA specifically has been one of the better ways to do it. And so I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm also, for the short time that I think it's going to happen, participating in the arbitrage, or the jarbitrage, if you will, of taking in whatever, regardless. Like, it is just interesting. If you have capital right now, whether you're a small player or a huge player, if you have the money, you can just turn it into more money, like, immediately. That's the arbitrage. It is arbitrage. It's, I can turn $1,000 USD into 1,100 or 1,200 USD worth of PSA slabs, of random slabs, and then I just turn left and I hand them over to somebody else, and I turn them, whatever. I turn the 1,200 into 1,100, and I just got my 9%. I made $90 or whatever for nothing, and then I just turn the 1090 into 1,290, and you just keep rolling the snowball. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, man. And you can hate it all you want, and I think I might, but
Yeah, no, you
it's not
can.
going anywhere.
And shout out again to Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles. I listened to his 1 hour chat
Me
about,
too.
third party streaming, or third party grading. Sorry, and I mean, his 1 hour chat, it was very helpful, but it could be boiled down into these two facts. If you're, as a collector, you don't like this idea of third party grading companies and all of the baggage that comes with them, the fact that their label is ugly, or the fact that they damaged your card one time, or the fact that they have conflicts of interest and monopolistic tendencies. And if you don't like any of that, then as a collector, feel free to not own any of those. But if you are in the business at any degree, you can't ignore that it makes business sense to grade with PSA.
Yeah.
Despite all those things.
Yeah.
And again, like Dan says, good, bad, or neutral, feel about it however you want. Like, it's going to be a moral discussion regardless, right? Because there's going to be pros and cons to every piece of it. But like, if it's just about making money, which a lot of people who are grading cards or participating in, owning graded cards, are interested in the monetary impact, the monetary aspect of graded cards, you can't ignore it. PSA has the economic advantage.
Yep. It's true. It's very true. Yeah. That's 95% of the reason I grade cards, is to make to turn, I say this in this video coming up, trying to turn money into cards that are worth more money, and then I turn that back into money that I spend on cards I actually want. Like that's the pipeline for me.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Like, if you tell everyone that every single dollar that you ever try to make in the hobby is all going for you to buy things for your personal collection, does that make you more moral than one person who decides to sell those cards that they graded so they can buy a car or buy groceries or go on a trip or whatever they're going to spend their money on? Like, that is a never-ending hole of moralizing that no one will ever agree with you on. And if that's the situation that we're in, maybe you just still participate because it makes business sense. And you're going to get some hate from others, and you're going to have to just deal with it.
Did you watch the video we're talking about? Ern's video?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. He says in it, he basically just puts it as and I'm participating because, capitalism or whatever.
Yeah, because capitalism or whatever. Yeah, sorry, like, money talks.
Yeah.
I don't like everything that the company that I used to work for, I didn't like everything that they did. I didn't like the customers that they accepted. I didn't like the policies that they passed down, but capitalism or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's such a good way to put it. There's everyone in the chat that has a job. Do you love everything about what your job represents and what it funnels up to and who it's helping? And you
Yeah.
probably, hopefully, you're cool with or aligned to most of it as a positive thing. But yeah, dude, like at the end of the day, I've worked for venture-backed startups. Like my
Yeah.
job is to make an outsized amount of revenue and value for the shareholders that put the money and the time in. And it's kind of like what Shelby Saturn is saying here. Like, you're providing some sort of value because you're sacrificing the time, and someone's sacrificing time and capital. The venture capitalists are putting up the capital to build the company that pays me a decent salary so I can do my life. And I don't have to love every single aspect of what AI products represent in the enterprise. Like, I don't love every part of what I'm participating in, but I believe in a lot of it, and it pays my bills. It keeps me, what if we all just grade somewhere else?
No, I actually like this question because I think that this is kind of like the default action. Like, and what we're talking about here is boycotting, right? And here's the problem with boycotting. IDK name. Here's the problem with the boycotting motion. This is a collective action problem. And if you're not familiar with collective action problems, then read up on that term and go to Jar Chomp via 2016 when he was in his poli-sci courses. Like, the problem with collective action is when there's an obvious opportunity for someone to take advantage of the system, you can't get everyone in the room to turn a blind eye to that. Some people, if not all the people, will take advantage of the thing that benefits them personally because you can't control them, and they see it as a bigger benefit. And PSA, as we have discussed, already has these huge economic advantages and proof that it's a good move monetarily to grade with them. And so there's no way you collectively convince everyone to move away unless, like Ricky said, there is some like bombshell thing that happens to the company drama-wise. And honestly, I don't know what that would be. It would have to be like a capital offense. It would have to be like bodily harm or something like that to a huge group of people, because it couldn't just be a money thing or a securities and exchange thing or an acquisition thing. Like, it can't be that small. It has to be grosser than that for it to turn everybody away.
Yeah, an unfortunate reality. It reminds you a little of the prisoner's dilemma too.
Yes.
Kind of related to that, right? I guess, like, in no matter how many simulations you do, I think it was tit for tat. Whatever they do to you, you do back exactly. Wins the game the most. The game theory solution is tit for tat. There's no other amount. Like, you just participate and do back what they do to you. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of that. Like, you can't. Anyway, it's to wrap up this point. Yeah, everybody's getting theirs with grading with PSA. I may as well get mine too. That's basically how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ern says, right? He's like, oh, I don't feel great about grading with them, but like,
capitalism.
If you're the only vendor in the room who is not participating in the PSA grading game, and they're all making more money than you because of that. You tell me how many shows it's going to last you before you decide to make a change.
And how that makes you better.
Yeah, and if you're in it for the love of tag grading, or for the love of whatever other grading company that you think is so, holy, do it. But that's a collector mindset, and you should be okay with that. That's not a business mindset.
Totally. And by the way, there is a place for that.
Yes.
You can stand out by doing that, right?
Yes, I posted today about having Gold Star cards in my binder. Those Gold Star cards would be worth more money if I graded them and then, sold them or whatever. Like, the value of them graded versus the value of them raw in my binder.
Yeah.
Like, I am not capitalizing by having those cards in my binder. That's a collector decision.
Yep.
And I'm not more moral than you for choosing that. I'm just not doing that for preference reasons. Yeah. But if you're running a business and you need capital, you need cash flow, you need margin, you have expenses, you got to go with the business decision.
I'm sure we could talk about this forever, but Monkey Dude is kind of interesting. Talked for a couple of minutes of vendors selling exclusively tagged slabs, no raw, no binders, no PSA. He said East Spatial was really tough and almost nothing moved. So there you go. I mean, it's a collector decision. You can stand out, right? Like when somebody walks in, and when the few people that walk in and they go, boy, I really hope someone's selling tag, and they find your booth, that person will become your like lifetime customer, because they're like, I just collect tag and I have a tag vendor. But yeah, on average, like, yeah, this is not a business move. It's a collector move. And you put it really well. It's none of those decisions either way make you better or worse or more moral or whatever. But you got to make those decisions for yourself and make your money while you're alive.
Amen.
Amen. Before we move on, maybe we'll wrap up on like, how are we changing our bless you strategy? He hit the mute button this time. That's a pro move. Changing strategy on an individual level. Are we changing our strategies on an individual level? So this combines all the talk about the sentiment and the sweaty market talk. What is Jake doing? What is Ricky doing?
The answer is yes. And here comes my opportunity to moralize a little bit.
Oh, after all that about
yeah, I think if I were to make the best decision for my business this year, it would be to spend as much time and money and focus as I possibly could on buying as many graded cards as possible and selling them to repackers, and developing an infrastructure that allows me to do that at a massive scale and capture margin and churn and burn as fast as possible.
I get where you're going.
Many of my vendor counterparts that I vended with for years now are doing that almost exclusively. And awesome. I hope that that business works out for them and that they really enjoy it. But I'm not just in this business to only make money. I need to make money. I need to pay the bills, and I want to expand and, hire my siblings and provide a life that is going to work for them. And I have a feeling, I'm making a bet that I can do that while also doing things that I want to do and feel a little bit better about doing. And so I'm not doing very much of that at all. And maybe I will, maybe opportunities, kind of come across the table, and I find a partner who wants to buy from me, and it makes sense for me to buy more slabs at the table. But I'll be honest, like, I personally, I don't feel great about all the stuff that PSA is doing and what they have and the power they have access to. And I've never really liked the fact that my really nice cards say PSA on them, because they're not sports cards. And I never really liked how ugly their label is. And I never really liked how much control they had over my cards when they landed in their warehouse, and they got to decide that my card was a 9 versus a 10 versus whatever. I never liked much of that. And so with all this coming down, I'm doing a lot more singles. And it's because that's actually the reason that I got into this business, is because I was a collector, and I am a collector. And I want to cater to more collectors. And so a lot of the things that I'm doing on stream and a lot of the space that I'm using at my vendor booth and a lot of the new product lines and revenue streams that I'm trying to develop have to do with catering towards people who actually like Pokemon cards, because that's me, and that's the type of people that I want to affiliate with in this hobby, the people who like the cards and the artwork. And um I know for a fact that, like, if I was to try to flip every dollar worth of capital that I have into graded cards and make that margin and spin that wheel all year long, I would hate it. I would hate it. And I'm not interested any for hopefully for the rest of my life in spending an outsized amount of my time working to make money doing something that I hate. So, yeah, shout out singles, shout out binders.
I like that, man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if anyone ever doubts that, just film me or Jake seeing some cool vintage card that we're not expecting to see, and see if our voice goes up or down an octave in the reaction to it, right? Like, you open up the binder and it's got gold stars in it, you go ooh or ooh.
Oh,
Like that's all the proof that you need. But yeah, dude, like it's kind of like saying uh once you're hitting a certain level of financial success, like baseline level of financial success, there's a diminishing return to like making more doing something that you hate proportionally a lot more. Like, could
yeah.
you and I make more money going into like fracking the earth in oil and gas, or like working in Wall Street in finance? We could. The answer is yes.
We sure could.
We sure could. Would we feel good about it? Would we be enjoying our lives personally? Like, no, no, we wouldn't. At least not nearly as much as I think we do now. So you can boil it down that simple. So yeah, I hear you, man. I think the takeaway there on, are you changing your strategy on an individual level in reaction to all this, is you are shifting the singles because you want to interact with collectors. It's what you like. And like, that's why you got into it at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
you're going to participate in the slabs and the grading to make money. You and I both have cards at PSA. I have 99 cards at PSA right now in various stages. Yeah, I mean, mine's fairly similar. It's actually very similar, except that I will add that I am right now the main adaptation in my like vending game and buying collections and things game is that I'm way less picky about what I will take, as long as I can take it at the right price. If someone wants to sell, they don't have relationships or whatever, and they just, like, they graded their own stuff and they're up on it anyway, or they just need the money, and they trust me and they want to sell to me at 79% for some random obscure stuff that nobody else, no end use, like, it's hard to find the end consumer for this random obscure thing. And guess who will buy it at 79% of card ladder comps, and then turn around and offload it at 85% to someone else who's going to offload it to Arena Club or GameStop or PSA or whoever at 91%. Everyone's making their 6%. Like, it's that part of the funnel doesn't hurt anybody. And yeah, that's the only change. So to the changing strategy question, like, historically I've been a little picky and defensive, as you said earlier, like defensive strategy to what I take in. I try to take in things I'm either excited about and or think will move at shows. And right now, like, there's always this fail-safe option of like, yeah, if I'm under 85% of card ladder comps, I can't lose money on it right now. So I'll take a dumb thing I would normally not have taken, or an obscure niche thing, or kind of a junk slab thing that I wouldn't normally take. I'll take more expensive things that I maybe would have not taken a risk on before, as long as I can be at 80% of card ladder comps, whatever it is, right? That's I'm not doing a ton of it. I'm not offloading hundreds of thousands of dollars directly.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is like, there's going to be some percentage of my business that is, buying and selling the same card that I always like. Having the Charmander promo from the Obsidian Flames ETB, like, I like that card, but like, do I like it so much that I should buy it every single weekend? No, but I do, because it's a good business move, because having that card in stock is a great thing to do. And so there's going to be some portion of your business that is going to be, I do this because it's good business. But like you've just mentioned, like, that's going to be part of what you do. But a lot of what you do is, it has to be energizing for you, because otherwise you would just go and pursue and make money somewhere else. and that's kind of what I'm saying is like for me, the graded slab vending buy sell trade experience isn't quite as fun as it was before all of the power pack stuff and before all these other kind of things that are happening in that card market happened. And so it doesn't give me as much energy. I'm not as excited about it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm still excited about some of these cards. Like I mean, I like this.
Who? It's a reverse. Yeah.
Like I like that.
Yeah.
Like how my all the power pack nonsense and all of the whatever that we talked about before, I still really like a really extremely clean copy of Charizard Reverse Hollow from Crystal Guardians. So like I'm not like de-energized and over moralized to the point where I'm just going to offload that and say screw PSA. I'll never own a PSA card. Like I'm not there. Maybe I would be someday, but for now, I still like some sweet cards. It just turns out that most of those are going to be in binders.
Yeah, I've shown this before, but it's been a while, right? This is
yes,
another cool one, right? It's I think in my mind right now, actually, I really feel this way. This stuff is like the vintage PSA slabs. It's like a different category of thing to me than than the modern stuff right now.
I agree.
It's like it might as well be a different like currency or card game entirely. Like I'm viewing them so different. Like what?
Like a different hobby.
Basically, yeah. That's how different they feel in my head right
now. Maybe that dovetails us into our final. Oh wait, no, we do Q&A first before we do the. Okay, sorry. I was getting excited because I have some ideas about what is it called again?
The Elite Forecast?
The Elite Forecast. Sorry.
I mean, we could do whatever we want. It's our stream. You want to do it now or you want to wait?
No. I want to do Q&A. Okay. I want to do Q&A.
At 2.5 hours. We've had a lot of actually good like some seriously interesting questions in here. So I did my best to star them as we went along. Well, yeah. Do you need a break or anything? Do either of us want to step away for a sec? And
I'm good. I'm ready to dive right in.
Yeah, I think I can keep cranking too. My hunger has subsided.
Exactly.
I've just adapted.
With passion.
I've just adapted. Okay, y'all. Let's do the Q&A. I am going to. We have 25 starred comments right now that have come through. A lot of good questions, but if you have some, you can ask them now. We don't always do every single super chat. We don't always only pick the most recent or the earliest. We try to just pick the ones that we think will lead to good discussion. So, let's see. Let's see. Where do I want to start? Okay, so Monkey Dude gave us New Cert Premium for vintage that got a high grade recently. Do you know much about it? So short answer is yes. When you look at when you look at like 8 and before certs with PSA, sometimes they're worse. They would be like I bought a is it Misty's Gyarados PSA 10 English with the swirl in it this weekend. If I regraded it, it would get an 8. And it's an 8 cert. So that's why some people will tax for the new cert. It's the idea that the standards have gotten harder more recently, and cards with the 2 in front of them would get those 10s would get 7s and 8s by today's standards.
Agreed.
How many people will go full-time cards this year? More or less?
Less. It has to be. It has to be because some percentage of people from 2025 went full-time, or at least got their start because there was so much opportunity in the newly released sealed market. And I don't think that opportunity is going to be the same this year.
Interesting. My gut reaction was more, but I don't know why. I'll just leave it at that. Like, I think it's possible.
I think I know why you said that.
Look, I just think I think there is I think confidence and then different number of ways to play as a full-timer are up right now. Like if it was, I think it was a lot scarier and more like untrodden ground a year or two ago than it is right now. But maybe I'm just speaking personally. Blast Boost hooking us up with $20 super chat earlier. Thanks for always being here, Blast Boost. What's up, Machamps? Hope you're having a great start to the new year. I think we are. By the way, Jake, did you miss the stream? I missed this stream.
Like did I long for it?
Like emotionally, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the last few weeks I needed to rest. But
Yeah.
like it drove me crazy. And like I was crawling out of my skin the last few days, just feeling like an absolute worth nothing. I think that probably happens to everybody that week between Christmas and New Year's, where you just kind of do almost nothing and eat too much and just feel like utter trash. Yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, me too, man. And we had like I think more people than we've had in a long time live right now. So it could be the new time too, but I think maybe the stream missed us too. So Blast Boost, do you think 30th anniversary will have Gen 2 remakes with SIR renditions? That would be sick. Thanks.
The timing makes sense with some of the set name leaks that like are in circulation, that it would be a Gen 3 thing.
Yes. Yeah, that's what came to mind for me too.
That feels more realistic to me. But
what is there a 30th anniversary set like celebration? Do we have a name for that?
I heard that there was like some trademarked thing, but I don't know if it's going to be the actual name of the set.
Okay. I think Blast Boost is a really narrow ask. I would love it. I think the answer, if I'm betting, if it's a poly market thing, it's like 91% chance no is probably where I'm sitting.
Yeah. I feel strongly that there's a good chance we get a really good Lugia card this year, though, because we haven't gotten one since Silver Tempest, and the Pokemon Company loves Lugia.
I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love it, man. Yeah, I agree that it looks like the third gen will be cool. I sank a ton of hours into Sapphire, so that's going to be really nostalgic if Gen 3 comes out. But I think Gen 2 is my favorite gen on the whole, so I'm eagerly awaiting it too.
Nice.
They'll do it. I mean, it's just like it's going to be a feather, whatever, a rabbit out of the hat in 2027 or something maybe. Thoughts on vendors using lowest listed instead of last sold to justify prices?
I've started to do this more and more.
Me too.
And not just with vintage, but sometimes like with modern too.
Yeah.
Because like the trends are so fast that I have to take what's available on the market right now into consideration. Now, I'm not necessarily pricing my card at lowest list, but a lot of times I'll see prices between lowest list and recent sales and come somewhere in between. I'm okay with the idea that there's cards out there that are available on the market, and therefore I want to beat that price. I'm okay with that. Not always though, because like for vintage, like clean copies of vintage cards that I have as singles, I might not be willing to beat the lowest list of what's available on TCG Player, because maybe they're a low accredited seller. They don't have any pictures. You're taking the risk of them mailing it to you. Near mint on TCG Player could mean a lot of different things when it arrives at your door. And maybe I just hold myself out as a more accredited seller than that person. And so I believe I can charge a premium. Like expertise does play a role in selling cards and selling anything. And so, yeah, it's part of the calculation, not the only data point though.
Yeah. Well said. Same. I'm with modern, my mentality is related to volatility, right?
Yeah.
The market, like it could be going up, it could be going down. So like if the card is actively going down, I'll give you an example. In November, I vended a show and Bubble Mew was 680 or something like that. It was like near its high. Maybe I'm getting the dates wrong. It was like, it was definitely in the mid sixes. Call it 650 or something. Somebody came by my table and they're like, look, I want to do a deal with you. I want to sell you this bubble mew. And I was like, look, this card is going down. It's clear. And I'm looking at low lists, and there are low lists that are like $50 below the market price. Like the market price just hasn't caught up. You can buy this card for much cheaper than the market price. And so I was like, look, I have to offer you like 70%, lower amount than I would normally offer as a percentage for an otherwise liquid modern card. But like it's trending down. And I think people are going to be like afraid to catch the falling knife. And so it might be harder to get rid of than normal. And he goes, someone else offered me 550, but it's you. I want to do a deal with you. I want to build a relationship. Like I'll do 500. I was like, you should take the 550, whatever. So I buy it for 500. I have it out at multiple shows. No one buys it. Somebody, and I re-sticker it the other day at 490. And I did have somebody lined up for a trade in that. So it all worked out. It went to a real collector who comes by my table a lot. And we did a nice little trade of some random stuff from his side. But literally, I felt kind of bad lowballing on a liquid card, but I was using the information about low list. And I was right. I literally couldn't. I could have tried way harder to offload the card, but like at a couple shows, couldn't sell the card. It literally dipped under what I paid for it when it was 70% like a couple months ago. So that's what I think about low list for volatility reasons in modern. And then for vintage, it's a little more obvious, which is a scarcity thing. Like, yeah. It's sold. It's sure thing. It sold for $25 like a couple months ago. Can you buy it for less than $65 anywhere on the internet right now? If the answer is no, I think this card's worth somewhere closer to $65 than 25. And maybe you land on 45, and that's a fair way to wrap up the deal. But like, yeah, sometimes with rare vintage cards, it's like, yeah, but I'm the only one in the room that has it, and the cheapest copy online in this condition is 3 times more. And so we can make a fair deal, but like the low list is more useful information than the last sale 2 months ago at way less than the low list.
Absolutely.
Someone just shared, there's some nice sentiments I'm just going to share. So a quick pause from questions. Earlier, JDM Kidrex, Jar Trump, I quit my full-time welding job, making close to 100K a year to do Pokemon full-time. Got a part-time job that has flexible hours. I just focus on Pokemon and family. I couldn't be happier.
Congrats, my friend. Good luck to you. I've been there. Just remember that when you go out on your own and start working your side gig into your main gig, you end up working a lot more hours usually than your full-time job, but hopefully you love it.
Wind Waker, you wished at the earlier in the stream for more grace and patience and whatever else love from Wind Waker. And Wind Waker super chats us $10 and says, I am not a person to enjoy routines, but this stream is one of the few things that I planned for / build my life around. I love being here and I missed it for sure.
It's very sweet, Wind Waker. We will be here for you. We will be here at least 25 times this year. It's going to be the best year of all time. Best year yet for Pokemon and all of us here.
Yeah, I love it. I'm literally like getting a little bit teary-eyed, bro. That's means a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to spend your time in the world. And a lot of you folks in the chat, we see every single stream. So, and even at the new time and date this time. So yeah, it's awesome. Calvin Patel had asked earlier, I saw people were answering it in the chat. Do you ever crack 7s and 8s just for your binders? Totally. Especially for vintage.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Will be 4841. If you could only keep one sealed product and one card, what would you keep?
Do I have to own it today? Or is it the idea that I sell everything I have and then I get to have one sealed thing and one card?
I think it's just one sealed and one card. I'm interpreting the question very literally.
Okay. If I could have one sealed item, it's a crispy, case fresh green wing base set box.
Okay. Yes.
Like that's my one sealed item. It's a green wing sealed base set box.
Okay. Got it. I caught it.
If it's one card, I don't know. Let me think about this. You go.
Panic. If I could only keep one sealed product and one card. Yeah. So, okay. Maybe we answer both versions of the question. I'm with you. Base set booster, first edition base set booster box is hard not to choose as a sealed.
Well, I said green wing, so that's unlimited.
What does that mean, green wing?
So there's two versions of unlimited booster boxes. There's a blue wing Charizard, and there's a green wing Charizard. And the green wing has a chance at being shadowless.
Huh. You like the mystery?
Yeah, and the green wing is the original Sugimori colorway.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I'll just go with the whatever the first ed. Any one card. Logan Paul's Pikachu Illustrator, so I could auction it off for $10 million and retire.
I'm not going to go there. I think I might already own it. I like the most nostalgic card for me in the fam is this one here. Is this Holland Phantoms Reverse Gyarados? It's a PSA 10. It's like pop 20 something. I don't know.
Nice.
And that's just got like big nostalgia for me. So probably that.
Okay. Yeah. If it's one in my collection, I mean, it's hard not to go in a sentimental direction. Yeah. I have one of my few childhood cards. It kind of beat up Blaine's Arcanine. So it's like $5 card, but it would be hard to get rid of that if I had to liquidate, maybe one of these, like the PSA 1 or the PSA 10 of the Lugia Swirl. Would be hard to let one of those go. So we're somewhere in that range, but yeah, it's a tough question for sure. Heartless Harry asked, he said, in New Zealand, there's a large proportion of people grading with Ace. What do people in the US think of them? Nice artistic edition or cheap looking?
I couldn't tell you like the sentiment, like what people are saying about it. But like as far as market share, it's very minimal.
Yeah. I think it's cool that there's room for others, but yeah, I don't.
I'm actually curious. Maybe Heartless. Maybe you answer this if you know. How is Ace grading generating the extended artwork? Because if it's AI generated, I'm all the way out.
Interesting.
Because they're not getting the original artist to do it, obviously.
No, of course not. And it would be a lot of cards to do that for.
Yeah.
Yep. Will Ascended Heroes be Prismatic 2.0 in terms of another hype boom?
No.
Agreed.
It might be another version of Prismatic because the packs get so expensive at release just for availability's sake. But like, I don't think it can match Prismatic's like the disgust that people had for that set and how unavailable and how heavily scalped it was perceived to be. People were so mad. I got so much hate on a short that I posted from that Collecticon that we met at in LA in March.
Yeah.
And it was a short, and so it didn't include all the context, but like I sold a guy a Prismatic surprise box for like $60 or $65 or something. TCG market was over 70, and I had just bought it for like 55 or something, like from two guys before him, but I sold it for 60, and I got lit up in the comment section. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think I think that for better or for worse, I think the marketplace is just more numb to the idea that newly released sets are going to have a premium expense.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't put too much stock personally into the collective opinions of people who comment on short form content, but I get what you're saying. It's like a representation or a microcosm of the sort of the broader sentiment at that time, for sure. Control Drew, could both of you guys make more money by just selling singles and slabs on streams rather than going to shows, particularly with our audiences?
Possibly. Control Alt Drew. I use shows probably the last 6 months or so for sourcing. I um I do a lot more buying at shows than selling. Almost every time I go now. Because
I
because the fact that I do stream, like even if like the sales numbers didn't make a ton of sense, like the fact that I do stream at all and sell some things on stream, it means that I have to source more at shows than I sell because I have an additional sales channel through which I cannot source.
Yeah, good point. Uh, I had this thought. I just said it to my wife right before the stream. Because at the last couple shows, and I told you this right before the stream. At the last couple shows, I sold over 10,000, in the range of 10 to 15,000, roughly, of cards at each show. One Saturday show, and then this past weekend at East Bay, 30,000 or so dollars of cards is like a lot of my inventory. And so I was continuously buying, but I sold more. I was a net seller at these two shows.
Cool.
And I almost wish I had bought more now that I know where we're at. And actually a vendor that came to my table was like, hey, I learned this lesson. They're like, I did just yesterday at East Bay, and now I'm just walking today. And that was my second time vending, and I did really good, but I was like really not buying a lot because I was kind of apprehensive. I'd spent a lot of money on my inventory, and now I have like no inventory left. I was like, yeah, if you have a successful show or two, or in your case, a successful stream or two, it's the bottleneck moves to sourcing. So this exact question is hard for me to answer because I've never sold on stream. But yeah, you make an interesting point, Jake, about the fact that you can't replenish in real time during the stream. You are just dwindling down your inventory.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, that part of it is hard. Harrison Huddle, I think this is we're talking about the 3rd gen remake set. Is it a smart idea basically to acquire popular 3rd gen cards, or just a sucker bet?
that is a speculation question. Probably, I mean, I'm not doing that, but might have different goals than you. So totally up to you, Harrison's.
I said something along those lines, I think, around when we did the challenge video. I was looking at some of the like Gen 3 EX Silver Border stuff at that time because of the announcement. And I think that stuff's done well since then, I think unrelated to the announcement. So yeah, it's speculation. Harrison's the big thing for me, and I think for Jake, is that we're playing more of a speed game than this allows for. So there's probably not a lot of plays out there where we would do better camping out on these cards, hoping for a 3rd gen remake set to be confirmed, and then that pumps Gen 3 cards. Probably not a lot of plays there that would be better than us just buying and selling what as we're doing right now. Duck Colts 89 been in the chat a lot today. What's up, man? As vendors, don't you worry that slabs won't even make it to your hands anymore if power packs rain?
No, I don't worry about that. If the market got to the point where no one ever brought me slabs, I wouldn't be that sad, because I would just buy cool singles and have fun with them. But at the end of the day, what you're talking about, DeColts, is a world in which every single collector is privy to every sales channel to get the maximum amount of money with the least amount of work possible, and that will never exist. The business of collectibles is built on the information that you have, that you've proven for yourself, and everyone's at a different part of the journey of finding sales channels for themselves. And for a lot of people, the simplest and easiest and most fair situation for them is just to sell to somebody like me or Ricky at a card show, get instant liquidity, and move on. And I can't see that going away. Will it ebb and flow? Yes, but I can't see it going away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what came to my mind for this is something that you've talked about before more than me, which is just like the idea of being adaptable, and that like the trends change all the time. This adaptability is the same reason why when the winds shifted toward people middlemaning these power pack guys, and that there's this 9% arbitrage for relatively low risk, and all I have to do is exist and have the capital and have, take the shot on things. Um, I'm doing that now because some small percentage of my profits this year can come from playing that game, and then in 3 months that game could completely go away, and I would be fine. I would just figure out what the next, we would move to the next thing. So this is, I think you've also given the advice before, Jake, of like, there's value in being diversified in what you understand and what you're knowledgeable about, and the expertise piece having value. This is one of the reasons, because when the winds shift, me and Jake just go, whatever, we like Pokemon, and we understand, like, we have a finger on the market pulse, and we're the people that there was a stream, maybe I forget which one, but you had talked about like the people that stand the test of time are the ones that have gone through those troughs and figured out how to like still do well for themselves in slower or more whatever, slower times.
Yeah, I think to a lot of the guys that are moving a majority of their business into this, feed the slab bag machine strategy, right? And almost all the guys that are doing big business in that right now weren't doing that a year ago because the opportunity wasn't there. And these are people who are adaptable, they're intelligent, they got their ear to the ground, they hustle, they have connections. And so those same skills that allowed them to get into this business where they're flipping six figures of slabs every other weekend, if that opportunity dries up for a million different reasons that it could dry up, they will adapt into the next opportunity. And some of them won't, and they'll fail, or some of them will be, sad that they don't have easy tendies and they'll transition into a different industry altogether. But a lot of them won't, because a lot of them only got to where they are now because of intrinsic skills and experience that are going to transcend the trend.
Yep. So short answer, no, we don't worry about stuff like this. Zorner Cards super chatted $5. I don't know the story here. My PSA 9 base set Nido King 7 cert is up 10% since Card Party, just depositing my dividend back to the driver.
Yeah, thank you, Zorner. Yeah, I appreciate you getting that back to me. I know it was it was a big risk to buy that card for me. I'm glad that it paid off and that you trusted me with such a huge investment. And yeah, anytime you want to bring your absolutely trashed gold stars, PSA ones, nasty garbage cards to my table, I'll gladly lowball you again in the future. Great to see you, bro.
There's a story. Hashtag testimonials. I think it's a decent question to end on, and we're coming up on 3 hours, so we'll wrap up maybe on this one from Shelby Saturn. For folks with under 10K inventory who are looking to maximize every aspect of product flow, what are you doing with bulk hollows and all bulk common non-hollows? I'll tell you my answer.
My answer today is different than it was literally 1 week ago. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Oh, well, yours is going to be more interesting then. So we'll end on yours and we'll do the elite forecast. So I am doing, I would say 3 things. One thing that I'm doing all the time because I'm lazy is I just store them up in ETBs sitting in a storage area in a shelf. There's ETBs full of this stuff because I'm lazy. Every so often, though, I will offload these. The second strategy is to offload these to people who will buy bulk. They often have card stores or they are selling online and they're making master sets and things like that. So, it's like they'll have rules like no Japanese, no energies, no code cards, but like they'll take everything else at some low percent, whatever, 10 cents a card. Great, whatever. The thing that I do quite a bit, especially for not like, the true $1 hollows, like the kind of EXs and Vs, bless you. EXs and Vs and stuff like that. The main thing I've always done, and I think I'll continue to do because it just doesn't take a lot of time or anything, is I have a little box, like one of those, it's one of those things you kind of stack top loaders in. They're kind of like stiff cardboard and a little magnet, like a cheap little box. and I have a few dividers in it, and I just have that little box there. And when people want stuff out of them, I'll charge them $1 a card, and I use that money to give things away to kids for free. Or when people come to me, if there's like a kid that's being cool, or if a kid wants a trade up challenge or whatever, I don't do trade up challenges, but I will add to their pile. They can take a free card from that $1 box. So those are the three things I do. I hoard them because I'm lazy. I put them out as basically free or to fund giving things away for free. And then I bulk dump them to people who do something with them for way less than they're worth, but I just want to get rid of them.
Yeah. I've done similar things. I've given away thousands and thousands of these. But lately, because I am and was like Ricky in this case, where like a lot of these cards I would get in because I would open packs or because I would buy big collections or whatever.
Yep.
I didn't really have a sales channel for them, but I'm trying to create one. And so a subtle plug for myself. I'm streaming tomorrow, and we're going to be debuting a really cool new product, which is a custom curated vintage pack where you get some vintage cards, either from Gen 1, 2, 3, or 4. You have some guaranteed value tiers. You have a chance at like a secret rare pull where you can get, 5 or 10x worth what the pack costs. And the idea there is to give people a chance to like open packs that have cards that they wouldn't be able to get by opening the vintage packs that those come in today, because those vintage packs are just too expensive. Like, between you and me, I'm not opening up Power Keepers or Crystal Guardians or Fire Red Leaf Green packs, but like these vintage packs that I'm going to will have those because I've bought huge vintage collections over the years and just not really done anything with the commons, uncommons, and reverse hollows and stuff. I've just kind of had them in 5-row boxes, and lots of them have artworks that like you just don't see anymore. Or maybe you've never seen because you're a little bit newer to the hobby and you don't collect that deep into vintage stuff. So I'm going to try doing that and see how people like that on the stream. And I'm really enjoying putting them together because I just get to see artworks and sets that I really never get to see otherwise.
I like it, man. It's a great, it's very you. It's your spin on that concept and that format. And
yeah,
it's very true to what you enjoy. And it's, I'm sure there's some margin and some business move there. It wouldn't be worth your time if not, but
of course.
But it's also going to be this really fun experience for people to get some percentage of the experience of opening a vintage pack that they might otherwise probably never have access to. I actually also, between you and me, I don't think since getting back in the hobby, I have not opened a vintage pack at all.
Whoa. Okay. So we got to do that then.
We sure do.
This is the year where Oyama ripped some vintage packs.
100%. Yeah. But I might start with, getting a real percentage of the dopamine hit, supporting my guy with his jar packs or whatever you end up calling them. It's a cool concept, man. I like it.
Do it, bro.
All right, bud. We are officially 2 minutes away from 3 hours, so we knew it was going to be a big one. We were feeling cooped up, right? We had to come back strong for.
We were evil cooped up.
There you go. Okay, so before we did the Elite Forecast, just a reminder in case anyone missed it. Free Discord community now live. Go check it out. Go chat there. Be cool like everyone's being cool in the chat today. The chat has been super cool, as it pretty much always is, but it's just more of that all week long. Elite Forecast, you or me first?
You.
Okay. I'm not gonna be super spicy today. Not super spicy, but I am going to call like a 50% drop in a category of cards, and I'll be pretty specific. But I want to make sure our audience they're smart. They know this, but I want them to make good choices. So PSA turnaround times right now, quite slow, like not as slow as 2020, but like slower than they've been in 2025 when they were also slow at times. That I've noticed is really propping up the PSA 10 prices for the newer stuff. So my example of this for the Elite Forecast is the Mega Charizard EX promo from Phantasmal, the one that comes with the Oricorio. I've taken in, this has been probably the single most liquid card for me at the last 2 shows.
Wow.
We bought and sold somewhere between 8 and 12 of these easily. Like
Love
that,
it.
I had never held the card in my hand on December 13th for that show, and they started coming in immediately, and we were flipping them immediately. I set a couple aside to grade. I set one aside for my personal collection. The point I'm making here is that the QC on these is quite good. The backs are really good in this era generally, but these Mega Charizards and Oricorios, the centering usually not janky. I've seen some janky ones, but like they're good, and I really think they are going to be fairly easy graders. A few days ago when I looked at this, when I was prepping this, the price difference between Raw and PSA 10 is like 10x or 9x. It's like a $36 single now, and it was like selling in the 300s as a PSA 10. And I think a lot of that is like just because it's still kind of rare in a PSA 10 because they're all tied up in value bulk shipments at PSA.
Yeah, they're not worth enough money to express them.
Correct. Yeah, they're just stuck there. So they'll come back. Thousands of them will flood the market in the next couple of months. And, it feels weird because it doesn't feel like that card is so new. Like we're on to the next set already and stuff. But like, given the turnaround times are just that little bit longer, and it's actually pretty meaningful. PSA's bulk update was 65 business days to 95 business days. Business days, there's 5 of those a week, 20 of them in a month. So they just told you go ahead and add a month and a half to that. So it's a month and a half slower. If they used to take 3 months, it takes 4.5 months now. That's been my experience. So we're not 4.5 months away from that set releasing. So that's why like the only ones that have come back have been expressed. And so that's probably part of the reason they're expensive too. There's not that many and people paid a lot to grade them. Exactly. So my soapbox here is that over the next 2 to 3 months, everyone's value bulk shipments are coming back. These Mega Charizard EX promos, which everyone wants, it's a sick card, but like, and it's an accessible price because it's a promo. This $300, $350 PSA 10 thing, it's like, it's going to be $120, $150 PSA 10 by spring.
Yeah.
So if you want that card in a PSA 10, just wait. Do not pay a 10x premium. This screams 3 to 4x premium card for me.
Well, it's one of those cards that, and we've had Charizard promos like this before. Like if you want it in a 10, just do the little bit of elbow work to grade it yourself. Because like regardless of what the market does on the 10, like you'll get a 10, it's a good gem rate, and your risk is really low if you grade it yourself.
Yep. Yeah, Tiny Flame has a similar point here, right? The Mega Evolution SIRs, I think, came out really, really hot, and they're like way down, including the golds too. I think they're like 4x lower. It's like, it's very close to what I'm saying here. It's like, there should be a 3x multiple over the single 4x, whatever. It should be a $30 card that is $120 or $150 PSA 10, not a $36 card that is a $350 PSA 10. So if you want that card, just wait. Same goes for like basically everything in Phantasmal, except like maybe the absolute biggest hits, like the Charizard that it was maybe worth expressing. There's probably more of those who have completed grading, but yeah, that's basically my call, is like that whole category of cards, those like mid price range cool cards from Phantasmal, and going forward throughout the year, that I think that prediction will just hold. Like I feel reasonably confident saying a lot of that sort of stuff will drop. If you just wait longer than 3 months, you wait like 5 months for those shipments to come back, they'll drop like 60% from even though like 3 months out.
Yeah. Love that. And I agree. My elite forecast is maybe not a hot take either, but in light of our market cooling off for the last 3 or 4 months, it may be a little bit against the trend, which is I think that we're going to see another boom, maybe not as significant as 2025, but a significant boom across the board, modern, vintage, sealed, graded, etc. In 2026, really kind of becoming noticeable at the end of summer. Because I think that by then we'll have enough information about what's going to be coming out in the way of the sets and the anniversary items and that kind of stuff. I wrote down here, I think they're going to do a branded Switch 2 console. I think that I hope that they do like a dedicated anime segment like they did for Generations in the 20th anniversary. I think that they're going to play to a bunch of nostalgia. We've got great potential in the sets. We got, Rayquaza. We got, Ascended Heroes is going to be huge. All these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that some of the fatigue that we've felt over the past few months is going to go away and be replaced with some excitement around the products, and that we're going to see a really strong autumn, really strong fall for Pokemon.
Nice.
Let's boom. So that's all we got. Any closing words from you, Ricky? It's been a 3-hour stream, and I'm tired and hungry.
Me too. We powered through, man. No, it's good to be back. I think that was that. Like I said, I think that was our biggest live audience since one of our early, in a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it felt you and I hadn't talked for a couple of weeks, like in person, and even that felt weird to me. I'm so in the routine of you and I spending time together on the stream and outside of it. So yeah, man, it's fun to be back with you and the chat. And yeah, man, let's make it an awesome 2026. There's going to be a lot of bad, weird things and way more good, awesome things for all of us in store, I think.
I love it. Last new segment I want to add here, Ricky. Give yourself a 10-second plug. What do you got going on? What's new? Videos, shows? Where can people find you?
Oh, geez. Yeah, roll out the red carpet, Hot One style.
Here.
This camera. Yeah, I am about to book a late February show for the Westgate. So we're running back the World of Sports Mem Westgate show in South Bay, here in the Bay Area. I'm probably will be not able to do too many shows in March and April due to life and travel and things, but you and I are doing Card Party in May. I do want to get to the East Coast and Central at least once each this year. So my goal is to vend about 2 local shows a quarter and 1 outside of the West Coast a quarter.
Cool.
So where I have to fly. I've got a video coming out on Thursday on 5 hard learnings about grading cards. So if you're not subscribed or whatever, go check that out.
Love it.
How about you?
I've got stream live tomorrow. We'll be on YouTube and on Drip, so come hang out. We got the new custom curated vintage packs, so come check those out. I'm excited to open some of them with you guys.
That sounds cool, man.
Yeah. And then we've got a vendor POV coming out most likely on Friday from the Indianapolis Pokepalooza that happened in December. Really, really cool time.
Nice.
Met tons of channel subscribers and members and stream friends and all kinds of stuff. Lots of really cool deals. And so that should probably come out on Friday. And then, we're going to be doing Hawaii PopCon. So we'll be in Hawaii starting on Wednesday. So if you follow us on Instagram, you'll get to see some of our some of the things we're going to be doing on the island. And if you are in Hawaii this weekend, please come to PopCon if you're able to. I'd love to meet you, shake your hand, do some deals. And we're excited. Other than that, we'll see you guys here in a couple of weeks for another volume of Midweek Machamps. Thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year. Excited for 2026. And appreciate you guys.
Have fun in Hawaii, man.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Everybody.